Well, hello and welcome to. Sorry, my wow, that's a false start. I wish I could go for a retake, but unlike movies, we don't have retakes here, but it's okay. Welcome to yet another episode 7, like Neha hinted to, of the Women's Cricket Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please make sure you hit the like button before we move on. Of course, let's just get done with the drill. ASAP, hit the like button, smash the subscribe button, jo karna hai kar do, but please spread the love. We've got Neha with us. Like always, a slight bit of change. Studio se hatke hum log online kar rahe hain. A throwback for me in some sense. It's been a while since I've taken part in a live stream with this setting. So interesting. But Neha, how are we today? All excited for everything that's happened in the last week.
Yeah, Akshay, honestly, a lot of interesting things have happened. Such a happening week, right, with the women's ashes on the domestic side of things. India, again, romping to a 3-0 series win versus Ireland, which a lot of people are not celebrating enough. And I think we will talk about it soon as well. But on this front, definitely a lot has been happening. And I hope we don't get a lot of men's cricket pertaining questions on the stream. It's very tempting to go because as we talk, we have Karnataka take on Vidarbha right now and the whole press conference fiasco, so to say. But yeah, let's focus on all things women's cricket.
Yeah, we'll definitely be focusing on all things women's cricket. What's interesting is the fact that there's so much action that's happened both on the field and off of it in the last week. So there's lots to talk about, and I'm really excited because we'll first start with our beloved WPL. Yeah, we've been speaking about it for the better part of the last 1.5 months. Ki yaar, schedule announce kar do, kahan pe hai schedule, and finally yahan pe hai schedule. We have the schedule. It's out. The games are happening across 4 cities. That's the first. Vadodara, then Bangalore, then Lucknow, and finally it ends in Mumbai. Neha, first thoughts on the on the schedule itself. What did you make of it? Happy with the fact that it's spread across 4 cities, or do you think it was probably spreading it a bit too thin? We were better off sticking to just 1 or 2 cities at best.
I think last week, Akshay, we were having this conversation. Was it the best move? Considering, we just have 5 teams, and, is it too much to expect with this sort of a format? But I see where they're coming from, experimenting with this caravan sort of a model where, a few set of matches are in one place, then you keep moving on. It's probably another way to see you're trying to build audience in the likes of the newer WPL teams, newer venues, and I think it still is a step in the right direction. I hope, the crowds also can do justice by, coming into the stadium, supporting their teams. More often than not, a lot of people feel that, IPL teams who have a WPL team have it easier with respect to the fan base and fans, adapting much more easier to this team. But for the likes of UP Warriors and Gujarat Giants, I think it's still a massive move, to have some of their matches being played in their city. So I hope the fans can resonate more. I hope it doesn't lead to a lot of fatigue, for these players, because this is the home World Cup year, as selfishly as I look at it, but even for other countries, right, who are looking at this player preservation. They don't want a lot of injuries and everything. So I hope the fatigue doesn't get the better of them. But all in all, nice to see a few rest days also being added. At least that was a welcome sight. And yeah, what do you think, Akshay? Again, were you happy with seeing it being spread across all 4 cities?
I don't like this dynamic that's forming where you're very positive and upbeat about everything, and I'm like, yeah, it should have been better, and go. But I'll be honest, 4 cities, like I said last week, I think is a bit much. It's a tad bit unnecessary, especially considering the fact that the 2 cities chosen are Lucknow and Vadodara, not exactly known, for their, for their support of women's cricket. I won't say support. Okay, we have to build a new audience base and stuff like that. So we have to enter new cities. So that is fair. But even then, Lucknow, the venue itself, Bekana, has not really been known for its run scoring. Humne dekha ye IPL mein. And when you are now trying to promote the WPL, we know what the audience likes. At the end of the day, irrespective of what people like us talk about, we know that the average person out there wants to see boundaries more than wickets. And considering that is Lucknow the best of surfaces, I'm not sure. If you wanted to really expand Kolkata, even Chennai for that matter, we saw the India-South Africa series being played there, the Test and the T20Is. We saw a pretty good turnout across these. तो चाहिए तो वहां पे कर सकते थे यार. मतलब लखनऊ, I don't know, and even वडोदरा, गुजरात में ही करना था तो राजकोट ही कर लेते यार. मतलब surface तो अच्छा है. वडोदरा we saw, कि क्या हुआ वहां पे. So yeah, I'm just a tad bit annoyed, so to say, and expectedly in terms of how we spoke about last week कि अगर ये चार cities में होता है then there will have to be rest days के बिना ये नहीं हो पाएगा, and that has happened to be the case. So this will be a first as well. We'll be seeing multiple rest days. It's no coincidence that the rest days have overlapped with Team India's games during the Champions Trophy. So maybe smart on BCCI's part. They wanted to ensure कि Team India games की viewership या WPL games की viewership affect ना हो दोनों की वजह से. So that be fair on them. I, for one, I'm very happy, by the way, ki the tournament starting on the 14th and not the 7th, like it was being speculated. I know Neha knows, but for what it's worth, let's flex here as well. I'll be on vacation from the 31st to the 12th. तो मेरे को मन में था कि यार टूर्नामेंट ओपनर ये सब मिस होगा, मतलब मैं देखूंगा जहां पे भी हूँ देखूंगा, but I would have loved to be a part of the watch alongs. But Avnish and I, both of us yelped out loud. We were in office when the schedule announcement came out on Star. We were so happy. I for different reasons, he for different reasons, but that was great to see. So yeah, we'll all be there. And since we've touched upon it, sorry, one last thing, guys, we will be doing watch-alongs for the WPL. Neha will be with us. I'll be there. There'll be a new guest joining in. I won't call her a guest, but there'll be a new person joining in. Hopefully, you'll get to see a lot more of her as well. We'll be doing watch-alongs every Friday, Saturday, Sunday. मतलब अगर गेम्स नहीं हो रहा है तो इट विल ऑफ कोर्स बी अ रेस्ट डे फॉर अस. जिन Friday, Saturday, Sundays पे games होता है, we will be there covering it, plus the eliminator and the final. Yes, Neha, sorry, you wanted to say something.
I quickly want to add this point, even the fact that the final is happening in CCI. A lot of people felt, why CCI? I mean, you could have kept it at Wankhede, and the facilities at the CCI are not known to be the best, right? So that felt a little surprising there. Matlab, Wankhede Stadium is really great, right? Considering they are celebrating 50 years, and having the WPL final there would have made more sense. But yeah, that is the one slightly questionable and I don't know, very puzzling move. Again, did you like read too much into it, Akshay, about this aspect?
To be honest, I'm not too worried about it. I know where BCCI is coming from. The IPL starts literally a week after the WPL, so there won't be a lot of gap between the two tournaments. And Wankhede being used there would basically mean that there won't be enough time for it to be ready come the IPL. We saw last year what happened with the surface at the Arun Jaitley Stadium because it wasn't ready in time. They had to play a couple of their early games in Vizag. So it's understandable why they've gone for CCI, because CCI has also been batter friendly. It's seen good crowds. WPL has been held there earlier. So all in all, not really complaining about it. Sure, Wankhede is an iconic venue, but maybe in the future, just like how WPL season 2 was held in Bangalore and Mumbai, वैसे I mean Bangalore and Delhi, sorry, वैसे अगर कभी जाके Mumbai and another city होता है जहाँ पे सिर्फ first set of games happens in Bangalore, then I mean in Mumbai, then maybe you can give it a shot. There's a reason why I'm guessing even Bangalore, the games are happening much earlier, so it'll give Chinnaswamy Stadium, I mean the curators and everyone, yeah, exactly, at least 3 to 4 weeks of time to make sure that the venue is ready, the pitches are ready, and everything. So, peak at fair shot. I'm not really looking too much into it. Of course, there were a few comments on that. Guys, all of you joining in, please hit the like button. Please make sure. इस बार तो ऑनलाइन कर रहे हैं हम लोग, तो मतलब और भी ज्यादा बोलेंगे, और भी ज्यादा मतलब बोलेंगे as in CTS देते रहेंगे. Please make sure you keep doing that. We will take questions as we get them. Of course, let's start with this probably. Summit's question. Before that, guys, watching on next, we'll take your comments as well. We'll definitely take this up cricketception. We'll just first finish our chat on the venues and the schedule itself, and then we will talk about this as well. There's been another update, of course. RCB have signed Charlie Dean as Sufi Molyneux's replacement. Lots to talk about on that front as well. Cricketception, we've noted this. We'll talk about this in the next 10 minutes or so. Coming to Summit's, point. Neha, do you agree with this? Bangalore, considering the fact that they are the defending champions, do you think they've been stripped of their right to host the WPL final?
Okay, I wouldn't go as far as saying stripped of their rights,
I
Akshay,
would.
because you would, okay? Because IPL may often we see, the finalists and the winners and all, at least next edition made like the initial matches happen there. I think they get like playoffs, maybe their venues getting chosen, right, to host the matches. So yeah, I think this is not a bad shout. Bengaluru should have gotten the opportunity to host the playoffs because the fandom, the craze here in Bangalore is just unreal. Not just for I think RCB, but even for like cricket at large. It would have been a wonderful advertisement for WPL going ahead. Considering we have not rumors, I think almost we can say confirmed reports of another team getting added. So it would definitely help the optics side of things. And yeah, I think RCB does deserve at least that part of the right. Key boss, we were defending champions, so having the playoffs here would make sense. But yeah, it's again everything just boils down to कि हाँ मतलब surfaces IPL के लिए खराब नहीं होने चाहिए ना. So we're looking at it from that lens. So it's a little unfortunate like that. But yeah, it would have been great if Bengaluru could have hosted the playoffs. But we won't complain. At least we have a few matches here. I think Delhi would be feeling a little bad, no? This time around, they have nothing being scheduled there. It's not like last time the experiment did not work out at all in Delhi. In fact, we did see a lot of RCB fans again in Delhi, supporting RCB and all of that, but we still had crowds thronging the stadiums, right? So that felt a tad bit surprising as to why Delhi was not considered. But again, 5 venues, a lot of travel again. Would it really be feasible? Is something that had to be considered. And yeah, I wish they could be more transparent, with some of their rationale and thinking of why certain things were done. But yeah, it's Indian cricket, so we're just left to probably speculate and make our own assumptions.
I mean, to be honest, again, just a couple of things. I might be repeating myself. Firstly, I know, I genuinely think Bangalore have been hard done by. But again, probably a rare occasion at this. I would have to come in BCCI's defense. Once again, you cannot discount the fact that 14th ko final hai, 21st ko IPL hai, and be it what it may, say what you want. Capitalism always wins. Money IPL se aata hai, so it is important for them to ensure that nothing hampers the quality of IPL. That will always be a priority, whether we like it or not, and it's fair. We cannot say we matlab ekdam IPL is equal to WPL. They cannot look at it like that. As much as they are trying to, as much as they are willing to, between the two, if they have to prioritize one, it will always be the IPL, at least for the time being, as things stand in the present. Secondly, about Delhi, once again, Delhi, I'm guessing they themselves would, like the Capitals, along with DDC, they themselves would not have wanted matches to be happening too close to the IPL, which means the only possibility would have been the first set of games. But I also think DCs had already set their mind on giving the tournament opener and the first leg to Gujarat. To Gujarat as in to Vadodara. Once that was set in stone, Bangalore would always get the next preference simply because they are the defending champions. So once these two cities were fixed, Delhi either would have to play games too close to the IPL, which they did last time and ended up not getting to host a few IPL games, which they wouldn't want this time around as well because it costs. There's a cost associated with all of this. It's just numbers. There's nothing more, nothing less. It's just numbers. They know practically hosting an IPL game will earn them a lot more gate receipts revenue compared to a WPL game. That's just them being practical, so you can't blame them. So I wouldn't be surprised if it actually came from the capital setup itself. कि boss, अगर हमें पहले leg में Feb में नहीं मिल रहे matches, तो रहने दो, मतलब ठीक है, कोई नहीं. So which is why I felt अगर 4 ही game तुम्हें लखनऊ को देंगे थे, वो 4 game तो मतलब ठीक है. I mean, I don't know. Ekana is still very. Yeah, I'm still come to terms with it. In fact, Sports Fan goes on to ask us which venue amongst the four was the strange choice. It has to be Ekana for me because, yeah, like I said. What about you, Neha? Which was the strange choice for you?
For me, it was honestly Gujarat, with the choice of taking Vadodara, because this time around also we had a couple of international matches happening there. The crowds were very okay. Probably it also depended a lot on the opposition. In this case, it was the Ireland, right? And not, a lot of people were like whatever, and even West Indies and all of that. But I don't know why Gujarat is getting that sort of a preference. I mean, I think off record we know why it is the case, but then yeah, I think what you said really made sense. Ki, this could be the rationale. Delhi ka surface kharab nahi hona chahiye for IPL because IPL is the bigger cash cow and everything. But just looking at the chocker block type of cricketing schedule we have, there's literally no time to kind of space it evenly. Like everything has to happen back to back, right? So I see where that is coming from. But also, actually, let's discuss this aspect that the fact that 4 venues were chosen, maybe these 4 will be considered even for the World Cup, right? Later on, like right now, they're just testing the waters with these venues to see, what's the crowd reception like. I mean, Bengaluru, Mumbai, and all are like short venues, but Lucknow, Vadodara, and all of these places, they just want to check the crowd reception. How are the crowds coming in? This is a T20 spectacle that they're kind of wanting to test. And later, probably home World Cup may, besides the obvious venues like Bengaluru, Mumbai, Kolkata, Chennai, and all of these, probably we can have matches in these other cities as well. I think that could also be the rationale, no, to just experiment.
Could be, but WPL से World Cup तक, I mean, it's an extrapolation to say the least, and a slightly wild one at that, because WPL is happening during your summer break, so people are free and stuff like that. This, on the other hand, is happening October, November, that times. अभी तुम नवंबर में अगर दिल्ली में मैच खिलाओगे, you know you're risking players' health. Because make no mistake, oh thank God, even Pawan's made the exact point. Delhi, मतलब जब pollution होता है वहाँ पे, you can't possibly play there. We were all like, I mean, I was there in Delhi last November. I could feel it in my throat. Like, we could feel it in our eyes. Our eyes were actually burning. Like, we just hear of this. This was my first time experiencing the pollution firsthand. Flight land hua hai, while walking through the aero bridge, you can see how translucent it's become because of the fog. So when things like that, when it's as bad as it is, so Delhi, I'd be very, very, very surprised if any city in the northern belt, Delhi, Mohali even, get any games. So don't be surprised. Maybe the Dharamshala or something like that, sure. But wo wala belt goes out of the window. Bangalore will, of course, be there. Chennai will be there. Mumbai will be there. I'm expecting Kolkata to also get a few games. Hyderabad also is not a bad shout. It solely depends on, first of all, how many venues is the BCCI looking at. 10-team tournament is going to be round robin, so each team plays each other once. So 9 games, similar to the 2023 edition that way. But it will be interesting कि वो कितने venues के साथ जाते हैं पहली बात तो, because so like if we just sort of draw comparisons from the 2023 World Cup, it was played across 10 venues, or no, 11 venues. India did not play in 2 of them. Technically 10. Thiruvananthapuram was only used for practice games, and Guwahati was also used only for practice games. Hyderabad was the one venue that India did not play in. So 9 plus 1, 10 venues. So is will they go ahead with 10 venues? I'm not sure, because logistically it will cost them a lot. I'm guessing they would want to hold it only across 5 venues. तुम ही सोच लो ना, Bangalore, Mumbai, Chennai, Hyderabad. That's 4 in and around the same area, right? North में कुछ मतलब तो आसपास रहेगा. Logistically it becomes easier for teams and BCCI to plan, so they might be looking at it that way. But again, Neha, what do you think of it?
I mean, I was hoping that, besides the usual suspects that we would expect to host these matches, World Cup matches, we would have it even in, like, say, the likes of Kolkata, Dharamshala, and all of these places, weather permitting, so to say. But even the timing of the World Cup, right? It's happening in October, November. So, yeah, I hope there's no concerns with rain and, like, unexpected stuff like that happening. Because right now, I think we will talk about the Under 19 World Cup. Right now, that's happening in Malaysia. We see at least like 3 matches getting washed off because of rain, which does not make for good, viewing, because each match matters, right? To qualify for the Super Sixes and everything, and to just see them getting washed out like this is not a great sign. So I hope whatever decision BCCI takes, with respect to scheduling of these matches at particular venues, it is with a lot of foresight and thinking. But yeah, I think, yeah, the venues that you mentioned and Karthik mentions are like no-brainers. Definitely, you need to have matches here. But besides that, also, if they can explore some more venues, I think it would be really, really amazing. Because I remember Jhulan Goswami, talking about how she was a ball girl in one of the World Cups, and she had the opportunity to interact with Catherine Fitzpatrick, and just see her live. So it's small things like this that really make a difference in a young girl's life. Seeing your stars up close and personal. So yeah, just hoping, if not matches, at least practice matches तुम ऐसे छोटे छोटे venues में रख लोगे तो it will definitely help the game grow. At least I am looking at it from this idealistic perspective.
Yeah, if my memory serves me right, the anecdote is even more cool, because she didn't know the names of all the players, because women's cricket was not really telecasted back in the day. She just saw this bowler. She was bowling rapidly and she was just taking wickets. It was the 97 World Cup that happened in India. So she was a 16-year-old back then. Again, don't quote me on that. She was probably 20 or probably even younger, but she was an X-year-old. But 97 World Cup, it was a very cool story, for her also to talk about. But agree there, World Cup, let's hope that they also explore a few new venues. I do agree with Neha. You don't have to stick to the same ones. Maybe for the warm-up matches, just like how matlab us World Cup, maybe Guwahati, Thiruvananthapuram, slightly, your tier 2, tier 3 venues were given the opportunity to host those games. I hope something like that happens here as well. Uh, 2013 wale edition mein we saw Pakistan entirely play their tournament in Odisha. They took on the Odisha state side as well for warm-ups because they couldn't take part in the official warm-up games, and they of course lost to them. A fact that one of my colleagues who is an Odia is extremely proud of. He was we defeated the Pakistan international side in 2013. Producer साहब अब बताओ नाम लेना है कि नहीं उनका, नहीं तो मैं रहने देता हूँ. But anyway, so that's that. Gillette Man going on to say not much to travel because the schedule is like the first set of games happen in location 1, the second in location 2, and likewise. So not much traveling. Agree with you. It's the format is called the traveling caravan form. I mean that's the name of the format. So you schedule games at one city, then move on to the next, just like how a caravan moves on when these town fairs happen and all of it. So interesting choice by the BCCI. So let us see if it actually works out for them. We all hope that it does. I mean, at the very least, we want that to happen. Who is going to live? I mean, who's going to win the season 3 of WPL? I'm an RCB fan, so if I have to answer this, you know where this is headed. तो क्या ही करे अभी, मतलब क्यों बोलना है नेहा?
So, I mean, I'm also an RCB fan. I think everyone pretty much does know that it's like for everyone to see. But I'm hoping this season, we can probably see a new winner. Or probably even Delhi winning, because both the times they've been in the final, it's really unfortunate to, kind of see them not go that extra mile. And Meg Lanning, I think when you just look at her trophy cabinet, it has every single thing there except the WPL. And we saw the kind of scenes, after that season 2. I mean, as an RCB fan, like my heart was just going out to her, like seeing Meg Lanning in tears. You could just see how much it meant to her and the group at large. The group has spoken about the kind of influence she has had. So as much as the RCB family wants us to, go defend the crown and have the second title and do it before the men and everything. No, do it again, do it 2 times and everything. But there's still a small part of me that hopes we might have a new winner in Delhi. Outlandish expectations would be the likes of UP Warriors and Gujarat going the mile, but I think they still need to figure out some more things before they can actually progress.
Yeah, I mean, agree with you. The RCB first, then a distant second. मतलब आसपास नहीं, एकदम ही last would be any first time winner. As long as it's a first time winner, I'm fine with any team winning because we need more teams winning because that will help those teams also build a loyal fan base for themselves, and then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So it's important that teams perform well. जब performances आएंगी तभी जाके लोग भी देखना शुरू करेंगे. That's the simplest way to bring in more people. The minute teams start competing, we get more players doing really well. Naturally, a lot more people will start viewing these games. Let's just take a few more comments. Quite a few of you commenting. Tanveer asking us, लखनऊ के लोग क्रिकेट नहीं देखते क्या? भाई मतलब देखते हैं क्रिकेट, वुमेन्स क्रिकेट देखते हैं कि नहीं? मतलब मैं ऐसे बोलूंगा कि लखनऊ के लोग वुमेन्स क्रिकेट देखने के लिए जाने नहीं जाते. सिंपल, बस ठीक है, मैं बस यही बोलूंगा. बाकी अगर वो सही में देखते तो मतलब मुझसे ज्यादा खुश और कोई नहीं होगा. I'd love to see that. Yes, Neha.
Actually, a quick point here. Remember the South Africa versus India series? Okay, so India versus South Africa series that happened in India. Did that happen in Lucknow, the pandemic time?
लखनऊ था कि कानपुर था वो? I don't think it was Ekana.
Oh, it is not Ekana. Okay. Because I remember the crowds again not being there, and it didn't make for great viewing. But I think लोग cricket देखते हैं लखनऊ में. ऐसी बात नहीं है. But we were just being a little skeptical, like is this one of your more conventional venues? And yeah.
Yeah, I stand corrected on that. I was just checking it out. It did happen in Lucknow at the Ekana. Because I might be. I might be. I'm clearly wrong on that. It did happen in Lucknow, but that was still COVID. So I will cut them some slack. Benefit of doubt देता हूँ. COVID के time पे ज़्यादातर मतलब लोग बाहर नहीं निकलना चाहते थे. So probably that also would have played a role. So let's hope that more people watch this.
And also the Indian team was coming after a long layoff, right? Like wo T20 World Cup just hua tha, and there was like a massive break. Fees had not been paid, and I can't believe we're talking about it like happened a long time back, just 5 years back, and you could see the disarray the team was in back then. Anyways, not going on a nostalgic tangent there.
Yeah, it had been a year and a half, I remember, between the two tours. So, I mean, the two series. So, it was important for India also to get some game time. Okay, thank you, Chinmay. Of course, let's hope, fingers crossed, and hearts, all hearts, ki ee sala cup namde. Sometimes I wonder, as a Kannada guy, if I'm also getting the pronunciation wrong because everyone's butchered it by calling it Isala, Isala. So I hope I'm getting it right. It's Isala cup namde. Okay. Where is the Under 19 Women's World Cup being telecast? It's being telecast on Hotstar, Pavan. We will be talking about it in depth, not just the games that happened today, our thoughts on it, some players to watch out for, and a lot more, of course. So stay tuned. We will be talking about it. थोड़े लोग already इसके बारे में पूछ रहे थे, तो I thought let's just clarify your views on the Women's Bangladesh Premier League that's going to be launched. It was announced today and its impact. We'll take this because सेम टॉपिक पे शायद तनवीर ने भी पूछा था, नहीं तनवीर ने यही पूछा था. तनवीर, आई थॉट यू आर अ रेसिडेंट बांग्लादेश फैन, तो आपने पूछा ही नहीं. मतलब बीपीएल के बाद वुमेन्स का भी हो रहा है. यू मस्ट बी द मोस्ट थ्रिल्ड. Neha, thoughts on that? You must be really happy about seeing what Bangladesh Cricket Board has been doing about women's cricket in general.
Honestly, yeah, that was one of the news, that really gave me so much happiness today. Bangladesh Cricket Board, for their, credit, has been doing so much. I think we've spoken at length about them starting that first class tournament, the red ball tournament for the women's side of things, which is a welcome step in the right direction. And now coming up with this women's BPL is just amazing, right? Right after the men's version is done, they're kind of trying to cash in on this, and it's probably going to be three teams, round robin format, which is a great start. I can't believe other teams haven't taken cognizance of this and are actually doing it. During our T20 World Cup discussions, we spoke about how South Africa, New Zealand, and all of these folks don't have like this sort of a league, and Bangladesh doing it really goes to show that yeah, they're actually invested in the growth of their women's team, and a lot of the under 19 players actually end up playing for the senior team. So I hope this kind of also creates a pipeline of a lot more talent, who can kind of bridge the gap and just play international cricket, be it at the under 19 level or even for the senior team. And yeah, it's just great, great news. Hopefully, other cricketing boards can take attention of this, and the league also kind of gets its, sort of attention. But great, great news.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, the last 5 6 months has been a watershed moment of sorts. I mean, I would say post the World Cup, especially the Bangladesh Island series. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. Was the first ever series to get a sponsor, first ever bilateral series in Bangladesh to get a sponsor. Never before did they find sponsors. Along with that, they also brought in broadcasters. If you remember, even the India Bangladesh series was being telecast on YouTube. Live stream chal raha tha wahan pe. It wasn't the case with Ireland. It was actually taken up by fan codes. So you get to see a lot of these things happening there. Then on top of that, they also introduced the domestic competition for multi-day. I mean, in the multi-day format for their talent pool, for their domestic talent pool. So that's great. And now, of course, this. But the only thing was, if I'm not wrong, again, सिर्फ एक ही international player खेल सकता है in each of the 11s. So that was the tad bit surprising. कि यार मतलब why did you restrict yourself to one? Like, what purpose? I mean, I won't say what purpose is it serving, but it sort of is defeating the purpose. Ki ek hi kyun? Like, you could have easily had 3 4 even more if you wanted, because of course this is coming from a place of ignorance. I don't know how good the talent pool in Bangladesh is, so let's hope that it is very good. I would love to see that, but even then I feel 3 4 तो तुम रख ही सकते हो यार, which is the norm any which ways. Like मेंस क्रिकेट ले लो, वुमेन्स क्रिकेट में भी मतलब तुम बीपीएल ले लो, 100 ले लो, आईपीएल ले लो, आई मीन डब्ल्यूपीएल ले लो. तो जब है वो, you could have probably had that. It would have given more exposure to the local players to rub shoulders with international players. It would have also allowed more international players to come in. So it would have been a nice case of knowledge transfer. But ठीक है, I mean, you have to start somewhere. So I'd any day take this over nothing happening at all. So that's there for sure. So good on the Bangladesh Cricket Board for taking that up. Let us probably take this one question, since this is also slightly WPL related, and then we'll talk about Cricketception and Chinmay and Pavan Suresh and Sports Fan and everyone who's been asking about RCB's replacement signing. Sports Fan goes on to ask, guys, one random question. Do you see any chances of Pratika Raval in the WPL in future, or you don't think she's got potential in T20s? Neha?
Yeah, let's actually talk about this one. It's unfortunate that Pratika hasn't been selected by any of the WPL teams because most of them kind of have their opening combos sorted. So it's difficult to kind of slot her in. Looking at her gameplay and technique as well, it's very like I don't know, centered towards say ODIs or even tests for that matter. And for this sort of a format, probably it won't be the most ideal. But then actually, again, just going back to this point, I don't know if you brought it up in an MNL episode or while we were talking itself. I think we always tend to, box players in certain categories, like we expect them to be like multi-format players. And it's best, if you can have certain players deliver in certain formats for you. I think that's why it kind of drew the ire of a lot of fans. Ki, boss, why was Shivani Verma chosen for T20s? Look at her numbers. She's actually been doing well. But in ODI, she has had a lean patch since 2022 as well, right? So, I mean, Pratika, if she does get selected, if she does get yeah, so if Pratika does get selected by a WPL team, I think it would be great. Driving on the recency bias of how she's been, doing and everything, I think it would still be a great exposure for her. But right now, I think we're just kind of boxing her as like an ODI player and might as well, see how she fares in that.
Hey, I mean, those are very valid points. I completely agree with all of them. And we also need to understand that it's not like Pratika Rawal had done very well in the senior women's ODI trophy, which is what warranted her the sort of India cap. वो मतलब पता नहीं they basically, I mean, there's no numbers or there was no data behind why Pratika Rawal came in, which is why we all were extremely skeptical about the promotion in and of itself. We all were surprised that वृंदा दिनेश इतना अच्छा कर रही है उनको क्यों नहीं लिया यहाँ पे हाउस प्रतिका coming in Shifali herself has been in great form and all of it. So I'm guessing they are looking at Pratika as someone who's I mean they are looking at her as the quintessential ODI opener. तो वो एक है. And secondly जितना मैं देख पाया and this is a chat I had off air with a friend and guest, I mean not guest, a friend of the podcast, Jeet. We both had to agree that she's got decent range, definitely no two questions about it. She's got a good technique as well, very compact, very sure of herself, very assertive. But on the other hand, we need to also take into account the flat surfaces against a fairly average West Indies and Ireland bowling attack. There's only so much you can make of it. And this is for everyone. We're not saying that Smriti ke numbers ache dekho Smriti acha kariye. Even Smriti's numbers, everyone's numbers need to be taken with a pinch of salt. In fact, like good technique, of course, but we will have to hold our thoughts before we jump to conclusions one way or the other. So rukte hain thoda bahut, but great start to her career. So hopefully she's able to build on that. This has arguably been the best start any Indian cricketer has had, any Indian women's cricketer has had in ODIs. So given that, that's just so good to see. Okay, let's just take this one. Or it's okay. Chinmay and all of you asking more about Pratika Rawal. We'll talk about it when we discuss India Ireland as well. Thoda we WPL का पूरा खत्म कर देते हैं since we are at it. A lot of you going on to ask us about, of course, RCB's replacement for Sophie Molyneux, Charlie Dean, the English being monkered by Deepthi. I don't know if that's a claim to fame. At least in these parts of the world, you can probably put it that way. Neha, what did you make of the signing?
Again, this was quite the surprising sign. I mean, we were thinking, Sophie Molyneux would be unavailable for the WPL, because of her knee surgery and everything. So the big question mark was who would, possibly be her replacement. That bit surprised that RCB did decide to go ahead with Charlie Dean. I was just having a look at her numbers in the 100. Doesn't make for that great of a reading. I mean, we know the 100 is a slightly different format. Okay, yeah, 20 balls less than T20, but you still see, right? She hasn't had that sort of an impact in the 100. Even in her England T20 career, it's been very like rocky. I think she's the kind of player, who's better suited for, say, ODIs and all of that. So, yeah, I mean, in that thinking, what could RCB's rationale be for signing her? Even the times that Charlie Dean has toured India, it hasn't been like she's had breakthrough performances or, done something really out of the world. But here's wishing her the best. I hope with whatever opportunity she gets, she can do the best, but definitely not a like for like when you compare it with Sophie Muller. Like we were discussing so many other left-hand bowlers, they could have considered, but yeah, probably Charlie Dean was ahead of the rest in that pack and just made the cut. Yeah.
But yeah, even when discussing, we also, to be honest, fell short of options. Like we didn't know who to go for. Like the spinners we came up with were the likes of Sugandhika Kumari and Inoshi Priyadarshini. मतलब उतने मतलब हमें मिले नहीं कि left. Like if we wanted a like for like replacement, the one player I would have wanted, unfortunately, is not exactly allowed to play in the WPL. Like I would have loved to see Sadia Iqbal. यार मतलब इतना मजा आ जाता. She would have been great. But she can't. I mean, I don't know if she can or can't. I don't know WPL का क्या scene है, but fair to assume कि she wouldn't be playing. So उसके अलावा, like we discussed, not too many names that came to our mind. Kavisha Dilhari was also mentioned by one of our viewers, so that was also an interesting name mentioned earlier. But ठीक है, all in all, I live with it because I don't think Charlie Dean is going to be starting. I don't think any replacement we would have signed would have been starting for RCB. If anything, it makes it very clear that Danny White is now going to be opening with Smriti, and Sophie Devine will also play in the middle order because Sophie Molyneux not being available means she will definitely start for them. Not sure what to make of it. On the one hand, I'm happy that Danny White is now a short starter. On the other hand, I know Sophie Devine is also going to be a short starter. So it's like a double-edged sword because एक तरफ खुशी दूसरी तरफ मतलब ये है. Sorry Neha, yeah.
No, but Akshay, I quickly wanted to ask you, like, do you really think RCB would want to kind of simply use that fourth overseas slot? Because just looking at Indian reserves we have the likes of Joshita and Ragvi Bish. I know Ragvi Bish will have to slightly play out of position, but whatever little we got to see of Ragvi in that West Indies wala T20 series, she can give you the sort of cameos before the rest of the likes of Kanika or Rija can do the job. And Joshita is also very very tempting option to use because our pace department also sometimes did kind of struggle, and we don't have to force in someone like a Simran Dil Bahadur as well. So, where do you stand on this? Do we have to go with four overseas options, or can we just use our Indian core?
इतना हम मतलब इतना आगे अभी बढ़े नहीं है. We have to use our 4 overseas players. I don't think there's ever been an instance of only 3 overseas players being used so far. मतलब every game that we've seen so far in the WPL, from again, I might be wrong. I'm just trying to think of from off the back of my head. So firstly, वो secondly, Ragvi Bish. This we discussed, after the India West Indies T20 as well. Great player, मतलब मजा आया देख के उनको, but there's a very obvious, she has a very obvious way of playing. Yeah, exactly. Front of square, leg side. She scored 30 runs in that innings, 30 of 21 or 22. 29 of them came in that area, in that one section, this section. Not this, not this. It's not like all of leg side. It's just one part of leg side. So you're just making it easier for the opposition to plan against you. So if the team management is confident of her abilities, then sure, go for it. But Joshita for sure. I'm backing Joshita simply because of the package she is. A pace bowling all-rounder, a rare commodity in India. And on top of that, she moves the ball. I want to watch a lot more. In fact, I'm waiting for tomorrow. I mean, India's game tomorrow, just so that I get to catch a glimpse of Joshita. So that's something to look forward to. But I don't think 3 overseas players wouldn't be an option. So they will start, with 4 overseas players for sure. Richa is the only wicket keeper in our squad. No backup keeper. Yeah, we've spoken about this, post the auction as well. Agreed, it is an issue. I won't deny that. But जब तुम्हारा मेन कीपर ऋचा घोष है, ठीक है, मतलब ठीक है, आई लिव विद इट, कोई नहीं. अगर ऋचा घोष इंजर होती है तो मतलब ऑलरेडी वांदे मतलब ऑलरेडी वाट लग चुकी है तुम्हारी टीम की, बिकॉज ऋचा घोष इज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट कॉग इन द व्हील. No replacement would be able to match that, so it's fine. Like I can live with it. I don't think it's as big an issue as people have made it out to be. We've seen at India 2011 World Cup में भी धोनी के साथ बिना बैकअप कीपर के गए थे, क्योंकि जब धोनी तुम्हारा मेन कीपर है तो वो धोनी है भाई. तो मतलब अगर वो इंजर होता है ना, तुम किसी को भी लाओ, it won't suffice. So I mean, I might be biased here because of my love for RCB and whatnot, but I still think it's not that big an issue. Yes, Neha, sorry.
Quickly, I just wanted to ask you, Akshay, like, do you remember Danny White, ever donning the gloves and doing a little bit of wicket keeping, or am I just confusing her with someone else?
She's always been an off spinner, right? I don't remember her
used
keeping.
to bowl. Yeah, I mean, you've done
But
the
she's
interview,
still
so obviously
happy
you
to
know
hold.
better.
That's what she told during our episode of Unwind, guys. If you haven't checked it out, please do check it. Sorry. Yeah. Yes.
But again, okay, fine. Danny White, I don't know why is associating her with keeping maybe in some domestic game or something like a one-off thing. But even in T20s, right, is wicket keeping that much of a primary skill set that you need some very specialized person behind? Say RCB has this unforeseen situation, we can still have someone else don the gloves. So in T20s, is wicket keeping that big of a skill set and thing to have?
I would still say yes to that. I don't think you can ask someone to just don the gloves. You would still want a keeper. You can probably have a keeper of a lesser quality if the keeper can bat well and all of it. But yeah, I don't think you can survive without a good keeper. Matlab, you would ideally want a good keeper. A good keeper is a must have. An excellent keeper is a good to have. That's how I'll put it. Richa, I will put Richa in that excellent keeper category, not because of her keeping abilities, but more so because of her batting abilities. So given that at least उन दोनों में तुम एक चीज में भी अगर excellent में हो तो तुम excellent हो, बस इतना काफी. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So WPL के बारे में जो भी हमें बात करना था हमने cover कर लिया. For the uninitiated, once again, the tournament begins on the 14th of Feb, Valentine's Day. I don't know if it was intentional, but either way, it's starting on the 14th of Feb. Gujarat Giants, wooden spoon winners last year, will be taking on defending champs RCB. The game's coming live from Vadodara, and we will be doing a watch along live from our studio here in Bangalore. Really excited for that. Neha will be there. I'll be there, and of course, we also have a new member joining in, so that'll be great fun. Do check that out as well. So that's that from WPL. Probably time for us to move on. 40 minute बात कर लिया यार. मुझे लगा 10 मिनट में हम लोग खत्म कर लेंगे. But I guess that's WPL यार. मतलब हमेशा कुछ ना कुछ रहता ही है. Everyone's excited about it. Everyone's always got a bunch of questions to ask about it. So no worries, guys. Please feel free to ask us anything you want to ask us about. And all of you folks watching on Twitter, please, yeah, please do us a world of good. Hop on to YouTube, come here, ask us questions, give us your thoughts, your opinions on what you think, and we're more than happy to take them up as well. Let's just take a couple of comments. First one I wanted to take was Gillette Mansa. Sorry to ask you guys, but are you in the same room? Because the wall color is exactly the same. I like the previous set of sitting on the couch. It was very casual and also felt like talking with friends. Thank you so much, Janet, man. We really appreciate your thoughts. Logistical constraints say that was the only reason. Don't worry. We will be back next Sunday or Saturday, rather, next Saturday. But next Saturday will probably be the last time before WPL, where we will be in the studio. Uske baad, I won't be available, unfortunately. So this is a precursor just to make you guys feel comfortable to this setting as well. But next week we will be back in the studio. Just logical. I mean, nothing. It's not like this is going to be permanent. Yeah, exactly. So we will be back. I'll be more than happy to eat Neha's brains in person. What are your thoughts, Neha, on yo-yo tests in women's cricket? Is it a thing? Matlab, is it being done everywhere across teams in women's cricket?
I'm actually, caught off guard here because the great question we were talking about WPL, but now the yo-yo test. As far as I know, South Africa had this whole testing parametric where they ask their players to run a mile within a certain, like time limit ka thing, and that's how the likes of Danny Van Niekerk and even Lizelle Lee could not quite
Yes.
make the cut. But I think most of the cricketing boards are not very like transparent about what are their fitness parameters like. But Chinmay's question has actually led me to probably think a lot more on this. So thank you for that question. I hope we can also do a deep dive into that. Its relevance in women's cricket, probably yes. I think fitness should be a parameter everywhere. Like I was having a conversation earlier with someone, of should we even have fitness parameters? Like, isn't the game of the person more important than fitness parameters? But then again, how do you like test, right? A skill acha hai, but then the player is not fit. They're prone to more injuries and all of that, right? So that becomes more concerning. But then again, if you're just keeping fitness as a parameter, are we losing out on some talent? Because South Africa briefly did face that problem, right? When Danny Van Niekerk and Lizelle Lee weren't a part of the setup, which kind of sent things into a tizzy. So yeah, I'm still kind of conflicted on that. Like, how strict should the parameters be? Because if you make it like not so strict for certain players and the regulation for others, where do you draw the line? So yeah, it's a tricky one. But actually, your thoughts on the fitness side of things, the yo-yo test to be particular.
I'm all for having certain parameters and being objective about, bringing players into the setup. It is important. Whether it should be yo-yo test or not is for, experts to have a say on. I know how yo-yo tests work. I don't know if there are more such tests that can be used to determine a player's fitness standards, stamina, and whatnot. But it is important to keep measuring player stamina. You're playing at the highest level of a certain sport, of any sport for that matter, and you should be good enough to play that. Like, we've lost count of how many times, again, just drawing examples from men's cricket, how many times certain players are made fun of because they're very evidently not fit. And that shouldn't be the case. Especially in a sport like cricket, which is arguably India's biggest religion, अगर आपकी टीम का मेन प्लेयर फिट नहीं है तो भाई मतलब it paints a very sorry picture. So it should be no different in women's cricket as well, given how our fielding standards have actually gone down, if anything, in the recent past. So I would want that to improve, and we've always seen a direct correlation between good high fitness standards and good fielding efforts. There's always been a clear correlation. If you have a very fit team, a team that's very agile, that's got great endurance, naturally they'll also be more athletic, better fielders, better catchers. So yeah, given that, I would of course want that. That only ensures that your team is in a much better position to win. So yeah, agree with it. Sportsman also going on to say, think yo-yo tests should be mandatory. We saw the kind of revolution Virat brought in with it. Agree with you, यार. मतलब it is important. थोड़ा एक चाहिए एक fitness standards. एक fitness standard चाहिए जो सब maintain करे. Only then can you become a much better fielding side, which especially in the modern in modern day cricket, you've seen how important it is to be a good fielding side. So yeah, agree with that. I don't think that changes. So thank you so much for asking me. You can feel free to ask more questions, of course. And like always, please like button दबाओ, subscribe button भी दबाओ. Next अपन लोग बात करते हैं इंडिया वर्सेस आयरलैंड के बारे में. नेहा, मतलब we started the series with thinking कि यार जो भी हो, questions है हमारे पास, answers मिल जाए तो बढ़िया हो जाएगा. आपको लगता है answers मिल गए क्या? Where are you at? Where are you at when it comes to thinking of the series in hindsight? Are you sure now of the kind of 11 India will be fielding come October 2025 at the ODI World Cup, or do you still think, boss, everything's up in the air?
So Akshay, I think I'll answer this question from two perspectives. One from the fan perspective alone, that India won the series 3-0, absolute domination. I think we just saw so many records get broken. Heart again goes out to Ireland because in the number of occasions that the 400 mark has been breached in women's cricket, 4 times they have been on the receiving end, and it's a little sad on that respect. But as an Indian fan, definitely a lot of positives to take away from the series. A lot of things that kind of worked out well for us. But looking at it from, say, a very critical angle, again, there are still things that are up in the air that India needs to kind of figure out. One thing is obviously the opening pair seems to be doing really well. Smriti Mandana and Pradika Rawal, they feed off of each other's energy. I think we saw that BCCI video as well, where they spoke about the kind of influence they have on each other. And it was cute and everything, but then again, deriving a lot of positivity and optimism from that. But going ahead, what is going to be the scene like? Because the elephant in the room obviously is Shefali Verma and how she has been performing exceedingly well in domestic cricket. In fact, on my podcast too, I had a chat with my guest about like what is the future going to look like. Do we still select Shefali because she plays a very unidimensional role of primarily being in that opening position? Can we bring her in the middle order? Is she too good to just exclude? But looking at her ODI numbers, she hasn't scored a half century since 2022, and she's played a significant number of ODIs since then as well, been given those opportunities. And you just can't drop someone like Pradika Rawal because Shefali has had a great run in domestic. I know a lot of people will come after me for saying this as well, because recently we read the whole interview of Shefali talking about some personal issues she was facing, like her father had a heart attack and how she couldn't break the news to him. So that's obviously the human side of it as well. But does that warrant her a place in the Indian team immediately? Probably not, considering we have Pratika. So there are so many aspects, right? Like even the middle order as well, like Harleen as the number 3. Say we have an occasion where Smriti is out early and you have Harleen and Pratika, navigating India through that sort of a rocky waters phase, can you still rely on them to, be as accelerating and attacking as we'd expect them to be? I also wanted the series versus Ireland to be a place where India was tested, where Smriti was out early and we had the rest of the batting, kind of step up into. I think the first ODI gave us a slight, like trailer of sorts when Smriti Mandana gave us that electric start, but she was dismissed earlier. Then you had the rest of the team come to the party and deliver. And as much as Ireland has been performing well lately, this series they were slightly underwhelming on some fronts. Like with the bat, especially the first two ODIs, they had a lot to show, but it still wasn't enough to challenge India. So we can take these positives to move on. And as Diana Adebayo once famously said, play don't cancel out your series versus England, Australia, play versus Zimbabwe, Bangladesh, and Ireland, to gain a lot of confidence, which is kind of very undermining to these teams. But I think I see where she's coming from. India will take a lot of confidence, but I hope it doesn't lead to a situation where you're just pushing our problems under the carpet. We will talk about a lot more issues because I don't want to hog this entire podcast with just ranting about this, because I'm also going to talk about the pace department, and how that felt very undercooked. So yeah, Akshay, I think I spoke a lot, but you also please add on to some pearls of wisdom here. Yeah.
For pearls of wisdom का तो पता नहीं, but definitely मतलब I'm not as optimistic like always. I feel now it's really become my shtick to be slightly more pessimistic about things. But like I said, no one ever comes out good looking after. I mean, no one ever comes out looking good after an India Ireland series, especially from the Indian contingent. And I still hold on to my thoughts because, like I said, यार, तुम आयरलैंड के सामने जितना भी रन्स बना दो वो एट द एंड ऑफ द डे आयरलैंड है. यू विल हैव टू अकाउंट आई मीन टेक दैट इनटू अकाउंट. लाइक barring Orland to some extent, Freya, nothing much when it comes to the Irish bowling attack. And with the bat, Gaby Lewis, to some extent, Leah Paul in that first game, Ola Predictors didn't come to the party. Sarah Forbes came in a bit. But all in all, again, Ireland first two games, kudos to them. Thoda bahut at least fight mara in logon ne. Third ODI, to it really felt like they never even turned up with the ball, with the bat. They were just sleepwalking through it. It was a horror of a game, and I was so surprised to see that performance. I was looking forward to the third ODI. It didn't help. एक तो मेरे को थोड़ा इंडिया पे भी गुस्सा आया. तुम दो बार टॉस जीते, दोनों बार तुम बैट फर्स्ट किए, और मतलब पता है यार, मुझे पता है, मुझे कॉन्फिडेंस है कि तुम 400 मार लोगे, तुम एक और बार बैटिंग फर्स्ट करोगे, तुम एक और बार 400 मारोगे, पता है. बट क्या फायदा 400 मारने का? टेस्ट योरसेल्व्स ना ऐसे फ्लैट सर्फेसेस पे, गिव योर बॉलर्स, बिकॉज़ वर्ल्ड कप में यू वुडंट हैव the luxury of opting to bat first every time. So in that case, you will have to test yourself. Again, this is a problem we've spoken about for the men's team as well. The focus has not been on making the side better, on improving themselves. The focus has been on winning bilaterals. And that's a fundamentally flawed way of looking at things. According to me, these random bilaterals don't exist so that we win them and we fill our trophy cabinets with IDFC first man trophies or PTM trophies. They exist so that we challenge ourselves, test ourselves, and improve ourselves as players, so that come the World Cup, come the actual tournament that people watch and people want you to win, you can perform to the best of your abilities, even if that means you have to step out of your comfort zone. But again, the same thing. मतलब 150 मार लेंगे, 130 मार. Good. I'm very happy with the players performing. No, I don't think I can blame the players here. Like, I really want to look at the think tank and ask them questions. Like, what have you gained out of this? According to me, nothing. Genuinely nothing. Like, where we are at right now and where we were at the end of the West Indies ODIs, I don't think there's any different whatsoever. We're exactly there. We've not even gone back. कुछ भी नहीं पता चला. मतलब हमें, like, I still don't think Pratika has confirmed her spot in the World Cup 11. Because अगर England series उसका अच्छा नहीं जाता ना, तो I can very much see them bringing someone like a Shefali back, going with the Priya Punya experience के नाम पे. पता नहीं, मतलब वो कुछ भी कर सकते हैं. Which means so फिर फायदा क्या हुआ? तो फिर ये क्यों किया? So that's my first question. Yes, Neha.
Actually, quickly on the fact that India didn't experiment a lot. See, when we had the 2-0 series lead itself, right? Did you feel like in the third ODI, India should have probably experimented? Probably, okay, this is a thoda left field thing I'm going to say. Probably Smriti Mandana could have taken rest, had someone like Jenny or Deepti captain, have Ragbi Bishtopen. Probably that could have been something India could have considered. Get in someone like a Numa Chetri, see how that sort of a thing. Matt, so do you think again that could have just led to more confusion, more experimentation, and for what? Do you think that too?
See, experimenting for the sake of it leads to nothing. If there's some clarity, like I see merit in not playing Smriti simply because now you can bring in another opener and see how they play. And then you can take a call. Like you said, if someone like a Rakvi Bush also scored a 150 along with Pratika Rawal, it would also give you a fair indication of the matlab, just bol raha hu, it would have given you an indication of where this Indian team is and what the Irish bowling attack is all about. So you can't necessarily take it directly. But again, matlab, this has been extremely defensive thinking, if I'm being very honest, from the Indian setup. यहाँ पे तुम 400 मारोगे again. Does that mean कि World Cup में against Australia or England or even New Zealand or South Africa हम 400 मारेंगे? हरगिज नहीं, 300 मारेंगे, चांस ही नहीं. मैं लिख के दे रहा हूँ. Again, I'm sorry, this sounds like I sound like one of those extremely clickbaity journals, but that's not the intention. But we really have to question what was the thinking, what was the idea behind the series and playing the players that you did. Because we're no better than where we were before the series began. And if that's the case, then what are you doing? Like, why aren't we getting answers to the questions we already have?
But Akshay, I just want to quickly ask you this question. Matlab, third ODI, mein, we saw how Smriti and Pratika again gave us that sort of an amazing start. A base was built, and they actually didn't let Jenny and Harleen come in. They sent in the likes of Richa and Tejal. Or rationale yahi tha ki, they wanted some more batting time. Do you think such type of proactive measures were good because giving them some batting time would help? Or it just pile on the misery of Ireland and didn't serve a purpose. At least I thought in this week it would help give these two batters some time to, get some batting. Yeah.
हाँ बट ये तो बैग मिनिमम है ना यार. इसमें खुद ये सही क्या है इन लोगों ने, बट इसमें खुश होने वाली बात क्या है? ये तो एक्सपेक्टेड है ना, ये तो करना ही है. दिस वाज अ गिवन. अब अगर 40वें ओवर में अगर तुम्हारा पहला विकेट जाता है, तुम थोड़ी ना हरलीन को भेजोगे. तो पता है कि यू आर बेटर ऑफ सेंडिंग इन समवन एल्स. So again, I don't think it is as big a positive as you think. I wish I were as upbeat as you. So, is there something that you're consuming that I am not, that I think I should be? Because इतना positive में नहीं हो पाता. It reminds me of this. Have you seen Parks and Rec? Yeah, उसमें वो कौन है वो boss? The boss, not Ron Swanson, the other boss, the main boss. वो सबके ऊपर हमेशा positive है, the diet fitness freak. Rob Lowe is the actor's name. I don't know what his character's name is, but you remind me of him. हर दम हमेशा खुश. So I feel like we acting like Ron Swanson here. Ki no, nothing. Everything's effed up in this world. But yeah, I don't think. They have to really get their act together. I still think so. Sportsman, meanwhile, going out to say, we don't give enough batting time to Deepti in these stat pad fests, and then we'll cry in the crunch match about how awful her batting is. I've always been of the opinion that Deepti should have been given an extended run, even now at number 3, and see if there's any potential there. Because, yeah, जो भी मतलब again, दीप्ति ने भी तो 188 मारा against the very same opposition 6-7 पहले. तो मतलब exactly my point. There's only so much you can make of it. Like इसीलिए तो मतलब 6 साल बाद पता चला प्रतिका रावल भी
Actually, no. A lot of people use this Deeptika 188 knock as an excuse, she can bat in the top order. I've seen her in domestic as well, bat in the top order. But 188 certainly inflated her numbers. This is in no way demeaning her as the top order batter. But her coming in at number 3, like I can't believe after like 7 episodes, you still are, stuck on.
अरे 188 छोड़ो, इस बार का WPL, इस बार का 100. ये साल ही देख लो, in the last 12 months, actually, don't you think she's done enough to at least warrant a chance? I'm not saying she has to become a permanent number 3, but do you think it's not even worth a shot? You'd much rather have Harleen Deol, Uma Chetri, anyone else, but not Deepti. I don't think. I don't know in what universe does Deepti Sharma rank so low कि भाई एक shot भी हम नहीं दे सकते. All I was saying was give her a shot. एक 3-4 मैच का एक rope दो, which in itself is very short, but ठीक है, कुछ तो एक try करो. But वो उन्होंने कभी किया नहीं.
But Akshay, considering how less India plays itself, the sample size and the number of matches itself will be less. In a World Cup, you're experimenting with Deepthi at number three. I don't think is the wisest of the things we can do. We'll really have to see how this World Cup transpires and then probably take that sort of an option. Again, I see where you're coming from. Tum Deepthi ko number three pe khilaoge, so it gives you an extra option to have someone like Kanika or someone coming in later. Are you thinking of it from that POV as well? It gives you an option to add another all-rounder, another batter, finisher
Exactly.
sort of thing. Okay.
And importantly, also get a bowling option in your top six. So it also, reduces the dependence on your frontline bowlers like Renuka Singh Thakur or anyone else for that matter. Pratap Singh meanwhile also agreeing with Neha there. Game time is important ahead of the World Cup. We've seen a lot of experiments. Don't think doing experiments in the series would have served any purpose. So my question is, in that case, since both of you, I'm pretty sure a lot of you would be, coming from this school of thought. So does that mean this 11 or these set of players that we saw in this series, are they going to be a part of the World Cup squad as well? If that's the case, then तो भाई मतलब लग गए.
नहीं यार मतलब again I'm still looking at this optimistically that somewhere I think India has the core in place. We still need to see how the WPL and the few series that we have kind of plays out, because yeah, I think it's difficult to just circle in and be like this is going to be, because I still want to see the likes of Arundhati and Pooja feature in that side of things. We are completely forgetting about Shreyanka as well. She's coming back from injury. I think she would make such an interesting addition to the ODI side of things as well. So again, like the Ireland series did give some answers and some direction as to where the score is building, but yehi solid nahi hai. Yeah, it's difficult to tell now that this is going to be the 15 or
Yeah. Again, but my question is 10 months before the World Cup. I can't I can't pencil down more than 6 names. जिनका मैं मतलब गारंटी ले सकता हूँ कि ये 100% खेलेंगे. हाँ, देने को तो मैं 25-30 नाम दे दूं, मतलब apart from Smriti, Harman, Jenny, Richa, Deepthi and Renuka, there's no one else who's a sure shot starter right now as things stand, or who I think will start. Simply because BCCI मतलब पता ही नहीं चला ना, like कहाँ जा रहे, कभी इस तरफ, कभी उस तरफ, कभी किसी और तरफ, कभी ना किसी के तरफ, मतलब कुछ भी. तो which makes me wonder. Again, Pratap Singh, I really want to understand. Top 6 is somewhat set. कौन सा set भाई, मतलब कहाँ से set है?
Smriti,
कलिका रावल,
Harman,
please
Demi.
fuel. हाँ, यही 3 है top 6 में.
Wait, Smriti, Jenny, Harman, Deepthi,
Richa.
Richa.
दीप्ति top 6 में गिनो. दीप्ति number 7, number 8 पे आएगी. Number 6 पे रिचा, number 5 पे जेमी, number 4 पे हरमन. Number 3 पे कौन खेल रहा है? Number 2 पे कौन खेल रहा है? Who's going to partner Smriti? Then below Deepthi कौन? सिर्फ रेणुका का ही नाम ले सकते हो. See, so basically we have only 6 names in our 11. 6 in the
But
top
Akshay,
6.
I think that reflects more on the selection management, right? And how they have been going wrong with things. But I think we can still put a playing 11 that could be possibly India's strongest, right? So I don't think it's the problem of the talent. It's about how they are being marshaled, how they're being used, and all of that, right? I think it's more reflective of that.
But that's the whole point, right? हम अपने आप से like the women's cricket podcast का टीम बना के क्या करें? वो थोड़ी ना जाके खेलेगा. टीम इंडिया का 11 तो टीम इंडिया का 11 है ना. I agree with you. Like it's not that I'm not saying there isn't talent or we don't have players, but we haven't included them or given them enough game time. Like Arundhati Reddy ho, Shreyanka Patil ho, Pooja Vasukar has unfortunately been injured. Number 3 पे कौन खेल रही है? If it's Harleen Deol, then तो भाई मतलब थोड़ा बहुत तो गुस्सा आएगा मुझे. सही में गुस्सा आएगा.
थोड़ा बहुत, हाँ, ओके.
तो इसीलिए तो मुझे देखना है वहां पे क्या होता है. प्रताप meanwhile going on to say, so he's taken Harleen or Yasika at number 3, but again the fact is दोनों का is a 50-50. दोनों खेलेंगे कि नहीं खेलेंगे बिल्कुल नहीं पता. So again, it's
Akshay, just to ask you a question here quickly. Say you have Pratika and Smriti open. Would you still be open to having someone like Shefali coming in at number 3? Would that be okay? Would you consider that possibility, because you're so against Harleen at number 3? Uma Chhetri is not giving you that much confidence. Priya Punya, Harleen, you're no. So
I'll stick to what I said last week. I don't want Pratika and Harleen to be my number 2 and number 3 if number 1 is Smriti.
अरे तो
You know,
शेफाली को नंबर 3 पे नहीं होगा.
Pratika को number 3 दे दो. Nahi player, it's not like she's been playing good. I mean, at the top for Byte. It's just because like between the two, I have more confidence and faith in Shefali to maximize the power play. I know she's not done anything. I'll be the first one to admit that she's been woefully out of form in ODIs and even T20Is for that matter in the last 2-3 years. Agree with you. But what does that change? जिनको मौका देना था.
But what confidence will you give the youngsters, right? If you're like, matlab you've done well in this position, but no, we're going to drop you one position down because we still rely on some of our old players and we're going to take the punt on them. I think actually it's not going to be that great. Agar Pratika does well in that England series, we should still persist with her for the World Cup.
Pratika does well in the England series. Pratika plays the World Cup. Simple as that. That's a very straightforward call.
But then your argument would be, if your argument is also suggesting this, like if she doesn't do well in the England series, you would be the first to slot in Shefali, right, into the Indian team.
Not me. I'd be very surprised if Pratika goes through to the World Cup if she doesn't do well in the England series. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying I will remove her.
Yeah. But again, England is like foreign conditions, na. But then opposition in India also were West Indies.
I'd any day consider someone's performances against England in England over someone's performances against Ireland at home to understand if they're good or not. Yeah, so I mean, I know it's very hard, but I would look at it that way. So should Pratika do well there, then Shefali probably at best will be a backup opener in the 15-member squad. She wouldn't start for me. Simple.
But again, if you're taking Shefali as a backup opener, doesn't that take the spot of, say, someone in the middle order that you would probably want to take with you? Doesn't it eat up a spot in the playing 11 itself? Because, in the squad itself, yeah.
ठीक है ट्रैवलिंग रिजर्व बना लो एक तो रिजर्व ट्रैवलिंग रिजर्व भी नहीं चाहिए सब घर पे ही हो रहा है किसी को भी मतलब यू नो आई एम नॉट सेइंग आई सेड एट बेस्ट शी नीड्स टू बी अ पार्ट ऑफ द 15 अगर नहीं बनता उसका स्क्वाड तो मत रखो she is anyway because it's a home World Cup you can always bring in reinforcements very quickly it's not going to cost you a lot so it's cool it's a risk for
पैसे की बात ही नहीं है हाँ पैसे की बात ही नहीं है we're talking about the richest cricketing board Akshay but anyways yeah I see where you're coming from
तो वही है मेनली तो देखना पड़ेगा क्या होता है वहां पे we spoken a fair bit about Team India थोड़ा आयरलैंड के बारे में भी बात करेंगे just one last comment before we talk about them after Harman retires Jenny at 4 Shefali at 5 what do you think about this you know in that Richa kind of role she was bowling in domestics as well Neha I know you've been very clear you don't want Shefali batting down the order but do you agree with it do you think that's worth a shot
yeah, now I might be forced to, reconsider my stance because as much as I'd love to, have Shefali kind of open, but if you have Pratika, who's doing well, you can't deny someone like Shefali a place in the team. Then she'd probably have to remodel her game to, probably play in that middle order, at that number 3 position or coming in later. I know the WPL experiment a few years back, with pandemic wale edition, it didn't work out well for Shefali, for Sydney Sixers batting that late because I know she has that sort of an aggressive gameplay, but you'd love to see more of that in the power play as opposed to seeing it coming in later. So yeah, Shefali would still, I would love to see her as an opener, but right now we just have too many options, and that's why before I started coughing, I was just mentioning this point of if we look at players as a format wise. Shefali would still make the cut for my T20 side of things, and ODIs that we can have Pratika. We don't have to box all of these players. No, we don't have to look at these players as multi-format and have them play everything. Each format you can do that, but I'm not sure how that would help Smriti because it'd be very uncertain for egg series. Say jump karte, you're looking at different batting partners. So yeah, so kind of on the fence on this. We'll think about it, but if that's the only way Shefali can make it into the team, she will probably have to remodel her game. To be fair with Jenny, right? She was an opener when she started off, and now we see her, being thrown all around the batting order. And we've seen how she's kind of adjusted to that role. So if the need comes to it, I think Shefali might have to consider that.
No, I mean that's a fair point. अगर मतलब बनता है तो कर लो देखने क्या होता है वहाँ पे. Let's just take this one as well. Sportsman goes on to say, if all 4 of Yastika, Shriyanka, Arundhati and Pooja should make the 15, you see any of these miss out, I'll probably go first. Yastika could potentially miss out even if she's fit, simply because अभी काफी दूसरे लोग आ चुके हैं वहाँ पे. But the other three, Shriyanka, Arundhati, and Pooja, walk in for me. Neha, what about you?
Agreed, Akshay. I think on mute itself, I was like, Yastika would probably be the first name I can easily eliminate. Again, no disrespect to her. She did well in the Challenger trophy as well. But Yastika's issue is that only very injury prone, and even whatever little we have gotten to see of her kind of goes into that shell. If she's in her attacking group, well and good for India. But then again, where do you fit her? And she doesn't give me that sort of confidence to immediately slot her in at number three, an option India was looking at her for that T20 World Cup and everything. With respect to the other names, I think they should definitely make it into the Indian team, like at least the 15. Arundhati, why she's being denied, only she knows. But Pooja Vastrikar, again, with a lot of injuries and everything, still would want to test her in those whatever series we have before the World Cup to see if the pace is coming in and all of that. But Arundhati is a straight shot. She will definitely have to make it into the team. I mean, there's no second thoughts about that in any way. Yeah.
There's one correction to what you said. You said Arundhati, why she's been selected. Only she will know. I don't think even she knows. Even she wants to know. She's with all of us. कि क्यों नहीं ले रहे हो मुझे? But agree with you. Agree with you on everything you said there. Sumit Pethani seems like a new name. Please make sure with the like button.
I
Like
think
my
we
mic.
lost. Yeah.
Yes, I'm back on. 1 second, let me just make sure. पता नहीं my mic में कुछ ज़्यादा mic के साथ छेड़खानी कर रहा हूँ. So let's hope it will be in order. Anyways, coming back, he goes on to ask, fast bowling all-rounders any? There's Arundhati Pooja, there's Kashvi Gautam, there's Simran Dil Bahadur for what it's worth, there's Joshita who's coming in. Simran Sheikh is also technically a pace bowling all-rounder. So, मतलब है थोड़ी
Lot
बहुत
of
name now.
options, yeah.
Yeah, any name? I mean, any more names to add to that list?
I mean, yeah, right now just these names, the ones you mentioned. Kranti Kaur, again, no, she doesn't offer that much with the bat. Sayani Sadgare also does bat thoda up the order for Mumbai. So if we are considering her, she can be another good name. Yeah.
Definitely Sadgare. Yep, Kashfi is also there. I'm really looking forward to seeing Kashfi as well. But Kashfi and Kashfi, Siali, and Simran Sheikh, all three of them will be playing for Gujarat Giants. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. तो मजा तो
Hope they
आएगा
get
वहाँ पे.
opportunities, honestly, yeah.
2-2 करोड़ देने के बाद अगर opportunity नहीं मिला तो फिर पता नहीं कब मिलेगा. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
That'll be the easiest 2 crores anyone would ever make in their lives if they don't get a chance. Given that they are coming with a lot of reputation, so of course, lots to look forward to there.
Yes.
Let's touch upon Ireland as well before we move on. How do you look at the series for them, given that they were mainly looking at it and coming into the series from a learning perspective? They would have wanted to take in the atmosphere, the occasion, bowling to such good batters, facing such good bowlers. It's not often that they get quality game time, so it was important for them from that perspective. All in all, positives for them. What would you count under that list?
Yeah, I mean, when we just, plain sight look at the scoreline, we might think, yeah, this was an absolute drubbing. Ireland had nothing to offer. But I think Ireland definitely has a lot of positives. Let's start off with Gabby Lewis. I think the way she led from the front was remarkable, especially in that first ODI, the kind of knock she put in. At one point, I thought, she would really go on to reach that 100 mark. Not that milestones make a difference, but it would have helped the team total. But the way she was batting, right? She's giving that full pakka opener wala vibe that you don't usually get to see from associate nation players. That is a massive positive. Her doing her due diligence in the captaincy side of things and with her batting. Even Sarah Forbes, for that matter, in the third ODI, right? It was like a mountain hill of a chase, but then I could just see that intent, of just trying to get those runs, keep the scoreboard ticking. A lot of positive intent in her batting, and you could see, there was some uddesha to chase that total down, if not at least try to get close to it. So great batting from her. Even Christina Coulter Riley, I think this was the second ODI, her handy knock. She scored some 80 odd, and again, a very positive knock. You really got to see her kind of just grind it out. And the phases where the Indian bowlers were not able to get any wickets, just seeing her be in that groove was like really nice to see. Some letdowns obviously had to be Orla Prendergast. I know she did end up as Ireland's like highest wicket taker with those 4 sculls, but had a little bit of expectations from her. But again, have to give her the benefit of doubt that this was her first time on Indian show, so you can't expect her to conjure magic. Was able to do something with the new ball up front, but lack of support from the other end was always going to be a challenge for her. With Priya Sargent, an interesting series for her. We now see her in action at the Under 19 World Cup. But the kind of face off she was having with Jemima and I think with Smriti Mandana briefly was a little interesting. Like I think she did want to try to monk her or just try to distract the batters a little bit. You could see that aggression and that sort of an intent to just go for the kill. So that was another major positive. All in all, as a unit, they definitely looked better oiled than say the unit we faced off in 2017 or whenever we last squared off against Ireland. So they've had a lot of these players come from the setup. I hope they can kind of keep the momentum, take a lot of the learnings. And another nice aspect of the series, I think even you'll agree with me, was the fact that they had Isabel Joyce on the comms, right? So she was talking a lot about these players and how they've come through, the ranks and everything. So that is a nice backstory angle to it. I will definitely take a bag of learnings, with them with a lot of these performances that really came through, and yeah, just hoping that they're not on the receiving end of another team, scoring like some 400 plus against them. Doesn't look good for the record books, but from a learning POV, a lot to be proud of. Yeah.
I mean, agree with everything you said there. Amy Hunter was definitely a massive miss for them. I myself was looking forward to watching that top four in unison because that's what worked for them in the Bangladesh ODI. Is one of the positives in that 3-0 drubbing there as well. Amy Hunter, Gaby Lewis, Orla, and then Sarah Forbes. Her not being available meant that they had to tinker a bit. Sarah had to now bat at the top. They had to bring in few reinforcements. We also saw Kulturaini make her debut later on. And another massive miss was Amy Maguire, being suspended or called for, bending her elbow. नहीं तो मतलब था, she was definitely someone I was looking forward to watch it, even from that lens, क्योंकि लगा था elbow थोड़ा bend हो रहा था, but apart from that as well, she looked in great nick in that Bangladesh series, and also the first ODI she bowled well, got a couple of wickets too. तो काफी मजा आया वहां पे देखने में. Another name Neha rightfully mentioned here, Laura Delaney, definitely was a massive letdown, given that she's the most experienced player there, 35-year-old, most experienced as an oldest player. 30, okay, I thought 34 to be precise. ऐसे 20-25 नया साल आ गया तो मैंने एक साल और बढ़ा दिया. But I was a bit surprised, not a bit surprised, was taken aback by how bad she was. I'll just put it that way. Definitely a massive letdown, but hopefully the youngsters have gotten a great learning experience from here. Priya Sargent looked good. I've always said her action as well. It reminds me a bit of Ashley Gardner and even Charlie Dean for that matter. Kafi similar in the way she comes and loads up importantly. Maza aaya, great control, good action, very repeatable. So basics covered hai wahan pe. Orla again, a rare off series for her, but it's okay. She'll only learn and get better from here. Gaby Lewis, lots to look forward to. Like always, Sarah Forbes, Amy Hunter bhi jab aayenge, both the Amy's for that matter, Amy Maguire and Amy Hunter, they'll definitely be a great addition. And I'm just low-key hoping against hope कि यार किपगार्ड को कैसे भी करके आयरलैंड तुम कन्विंस कर लो यार. Ashes में भी इतना अच्छा क्या है. Okay, fair, agreed, but you can't fault a man for hoping. So I'm just hoping. So मजा ही आ जाएगा if she was able to come in यार into this setup. Yeah, I really think they would be the 6th, 7th best team in the world. Easily. So, anyways, lots of positives given that they'll also be taking part in the qualifier scheduled to happen in June. Definitely a very good series for them. अब तक उसका venue announce हुआ है क्या? Who's hosting the qualifiers? India itself? ऐसा नहीं होता ना कि host will host?
There's no update on that. I mean, during the T20 World Cup time, it did happen in UAE, but then did we know कि venue भी वही होने वाला था? Because it got shifted from Bangladesh to UAE, right? So qualifiers at least, yeah, not sure about the venue, but wouldn't be shocked if it's India, yeah.
Yeah, confirming that either way. Last I checked, confirm नहीं हुआ था. And, it's happening in India, June 2025. The sixth edition. Oh, sorry. I beg your pardon. It's the World Cup that they're referring to. The qualifier venue hasn't been announced. So we'll also have to wait on that. It'll be interesting to see wo kahan pe hota hai. Like we said, the bottom four teams from the ICC ODI Championship will join the winners of the regional qualifiers, Scotland and Thailand, in a 16 qualifier, and four teams out of those six will qualify to the final. I mean, to the main edition. Right now, Pakistan, West Indies, and Ireland from the 10 teams are confirmed. New Zealand and Bangladesh are the two teams still in hunt. The West Indies Bangladesh series that's scheduled to begin from tomorrow will decide who goes through. Should Bangladesh win the series, they go through to the main edition directly. Should Bangladesh lose, then New Zealand qualify directly, and of course, take Bangladesh will have to take part in the qualifiers. So देखना पड़ेगा. We'll preview the series as well later on. Don't worry. Asim, meanwhile, again, this also seems like a new name. Asim, if you are someone new, please make sure you hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe to us if you haven't already. Asking a question that I've been asking for a while. Given the World Cup is in India, is there any use of having an England series in England? The only use is game time मिल रहा है. And the only use is मैं भी शायद इंग्लैंड जा रहा हूँ जून जुलाई में तो मुझे देखने का मौका मिलेगा. So jokes, but नहीं यार. I mean, game time is important, and given that it is the English summer, June, July, and all of it, so England wouldn't come to India around that time, and it's not the best of times to host games in India. We saw Chennai is depressive. वहाँ पे in fact the game got rained out as well last June जब matches हुआ था India South Africa का. It's not usually June July usually India में matches नहीं होते for a reason. So कहीं ना कहीं पे तो खेलना ही था. So ठीक है. I mean, I'd rather take this than just sitting at home and practicing by yourselves. Yes, Neha.
Yeah, Akshay, I was just going to add on to this point that I'd rather have them play some cricket than no cricket, and also the fact that I'm looking at this from a very selfish POV. For a lot of Indian players, it'll be a good opportunity to kind of show what they are made of and be considered for the 100 as well, right? It was kind of sad to see not a lot of players be a part of the last edition. We just had what? Deepti Sharma, we had Smriti Mandana, and Jemmy, I think, yeah, just a few players participating. Or Jemmy,
because of the CPL also, colliding, I mean, overlapping with it, coinciding with it. Coinciding was the word I was thinking of. So it's all right, but fair point though. Fair point. It'll be great if they are able to prove their mettle there and get a few gigs. Nothing like it.
Yeah.
I, for one, I'm just waiting for 2027, which is when the current 100 contract will end, and there are a lot of speculations that it will then become a T20 edition. तो मेरे को वो T20 फॉर्मेट ला दो यार. तुम लोग क्या कचरा पट्टी खेल रहे हो, मेरे को समझ नहीं आता. Cricket is complicated enough by in and of itself. We didn't need a format to make it even more complicated, but somehow ECB managed to do that. So kudos to them for being able to do that, complicating an already complicated sport. But yeah, that's that from the India Ireland series. We spoke about both sides. Hopefully, जितना हमसे हो सकता था, जितना जो भी हमारे points, thoughts, opinions सब थे हमने बोला है. Time for us to now talk about the other major series that's happening right now, the Women's Ashes. Just a small matter of Australia once again whitewashing England 3-0. मतलब मुझे अभी ये सीरीज के बाद तो लगता है इंडिया को यार we probably been very harsh. मतलब इंग्लैंड को ही देख लो यार. 1930 से खेल रहा है, 1934 से खेल रहा है, फिर भी ये भी 3-0. हम 1970 1975 से खेल रहे हैं, हम भी 3-0. तो ठीक है, फर्क क्या है? श्योर 3-0 में हमारा 70-80 का मार्जिन होता है, वहां पे 30-40 का, बट ठीक है, who cares about the margin? So, but Neha, did you expect the 3-0 drubbing though?
Straight up, no. I really thought England would, sort of put in a fight. They found themselves in, situations where they could have actually gone on for the win. Really bizarre things have happened, and I think you know exactly which match I'm talking about. The second ODI where Amy Jones, her 103 ball wala knock. I don't know. I just keep watching the highlights to see what just happened there. I mean, she was there at one, and wickets kept falling. The margin by which England lost also was what, some 20 odd thing, right?
Yeah.
It was just shocking. I mean, you managed to dismiss Australia in their home conditions for some 180. And you're not able to chase that down. You don't have one batter who could kind of support Amy Jones. And even Amy Jones for her knock, I mean, we've kind of seen her, play some crucial cameos whenever she comes in at 6 or 7. A very unlike knock from her. And I think when she had a Harman fade moment there in between, where she kind of rotated the strike and gave it to Lauren Bell, and I knew the match was done and dusted. Matlab, Lauren Bell was trying her level best, bringing out all the textbook defenses, but yeah, it was a very shocking match, honestly. The second ODI, and I felt from there it would be very difficult for England to recover. Third ODI, we did see glimpses of some fight back, but Australia being Australia, their batting goes on till 9, 10, 11. So, can't fault them for winning the game. Ash Gardner scoring her maiden century. Brilliant, brilliant stuff. For all the fans, thronging the ground, a lovely experience. You could see how Australia women's cricket handle was sharing, all of these fans getting autographs, getting some gloves and all of that from Alisa Healy. And it's just such a vibe there, watching cricket in Australia and watching your team do so well. England would really want to introspect what went wrong with just so many aspects that, they found themselves losing all of these 3 matches. Now they're already like, this is a
Sorry,
good
what did you say? They bought themselves?
I don't know how do they find themselves lose from winning situations? Yeah.
I misheard it, and I thought of another word that starts with F and ends with D, and I was like, Neha, okay, not bad, okay. I
No,
thought I
no.
was the only one.
You watch it on repeat and you see what I used the correct word only. But England would really be disappointed because John Lewis has continuously spoken about this philosophy of playing entertaining cricket and trying to win matches. But yeah, it's just been extremely appalling. And the second ODI was just like both, putting the nail in the coffin. Yeah, that sort of a
I
situation.
mean, in John Lewis's different defense, entertaining तो था, entertaining था, वो हम बोल सकते हैं. बाकी वो जीत नहीं रहे, वो अलग बात है. Entertaining तो था, जिस तरीके से वो, मतलब that second ODI, I completely agree with you. The position they were in, and yeah, that 6 wicket man. I'll not forget that dismissal of Alex Capsey, was it? जिसके साथ एमी जोन्स का वो पार्टनरशिप हुआ था in that second ODI. Do you remember? Where they were already 3 down, 4 down early on, and then from there they had to take it further. They took it till post the 100-run mark. 180 was the target. They were taking their time, especially because it was Alana King and Charlie Dean bowling in tandem, so they knew spinners को हमें बस खेलना है. बाद में जब टाइम मिलेगा हम मार देंगे. The first over, Kim Garth comes in for her new spell. After that brilliant first spell of 6 overs, 10 runs or something. First over she got Alex Capsey out. Thankfully, it was reviewed and turned out it was missing. It was given out. Alex Capsey reviewed, it was missing. Then the next over, she came back in very similar delivery, except it was a bit fuller. This time I was hitting the stumps. It was unplayable. I wouldn't blame Alex Capsey because it seemed back in so sharply and at that pace with the keeper standing up front, so you can't even go beyond the crease, go outside the crease. So it was always going to be very difficult, but kudos to the Australian bowling attack, man. It's so relentless. मतलब कहीं से भी तुम्हें इतना सा भी breathing space मिलता ही नहीं है. Like, there was what was that saying? There was a saying way back in the 70s. If Lily doesn't get you, Thompson does. If Thompson doesn't get you, someone else. There were 3 pacers who were bowling in tandem, and वो था. वैसे यहाँ पे तो तुम पूरे लाइनअप का बोल सकते हो. किसी को भी if shoot doesn't get you, then guard does. If guard doesn't get you, then king does. If king doesn't get you, then this. If no one gets you, then someone else will. If no one gets you, Georgia Warren will. तो यहाँ पे हम वो बोल सकते हैं. Third ODI में भी that 38 of 12 Asim mentioned. First of all, brilliant knock. 260 से सीधा 310 के आसपास ले गई. And then even with the ball, she was the one taking the wickets, the all-important wicket of Nat Sliver-Brunt also. She was the one actually responsible. And second ODI to second ODI, I'll still cut them some slack because it was phenomenal bowling. I know मतलब scorecard जब देखोगे तुम्हें लगेगा 180 low score, you should have won that game. I agree with all of it. But to be honest, it was the third ODI that was even more disappointed because I really thought they were in it with a winning shot. They were at about 200 for 4, 200 for 5. Chasing 310, they needed the last 108 runs in about 14 overs. 8 runs per over is not the worst. मतलब देखा है हमने पहले तो हो सकता था. Danny Wyatt first mistimes a shot. It sort of takes the leaning edge, and Phoebe Litchfield with that fantastic dive at cover. तो पहले वो. and later on that Sophie Eccleston catch है like मतलब जो Ashley Gardner ने किया भाई साहब मैं बस वैसे I was getting ready, I was about to head for my office and I'm just looking at it and I see it and I'm like wait what did I just see पहले तो एक हाथ से लिया ऊपर से to have that presence of mind to hold on to herself to just stay and then when she went up she pushed. I mean I know it seems very obvious and all of it but guys make no mistake it's so hard you can practice it a million times but it's so hard to be able to execute it in the moment on the field so fantastic catch and Ashley Gardner brilliant knock यार मतलब 459 से तुम मतलब सीधा अगर 300 तक लेके जाते हो तो फिर बचता क्या यार like Neha you've got to give credit where it's you I guess
Yeah, I mean, Ash Gardner, has had a few rough months. We didn't, kind of see the performances we did expect from her. But come the women's Ashes, she's really delivered when her team most needed it, be it that century or even, getting those handy wickets for Australia. She is that kind of X factor you would want in your team. And bailing Australia out of trouble, right? That was also something that was a massive, massive takeaway for them. And even the kind of athleticism that she has, even Phoebe Litchfield's catch, I'm not sure if we already spoke about it. An absolute screamer, right? I mean, Australia just produces catches out of situations we'd normally not think of. I hope a lot of teams can take a leaf out of Australia's book of, how they go
team
about
India
their
सुधरे हो
fielding.
ना
Yeah, of how they kind of go about their fielding drills and everything. I think Australia's clinical performances also led them to win the series 3-0, a massive lead even in the multi-format series as well. England will have to conjure up something really, really magical to kind of level the series or do something, which seems very difficult because just look at England's batting, heavily dependent on Nat Silverbrunt, Heather Knight, with Amy Jones coming in later. Tammy Bowen's technique now again seems to be coming under the scanner, getting out in that same similar fashion. They lose wickets in clumps. Maya Bushi is also relatively inexperienced in the international setup also, and this is the women's Ashes. The pressure is a lot more. So I think England will have to reevaluate their options come the T20 series and the one-off test. Kind of survive in this Ashes because they really find themselves in a tough situation right now.
yeah I mean for England to now win the Ashes, they'll have to win each of the three T20Is and the Test game. Test the one-off Test match. I just don't know how that's going to happen, but let's hope that happens. It'll be great to watch that. Has Australia ever been whitewashed in a series? Losing to Herbie ठीक है. Whitewash. I mean, I don't know. I don't remember anything like that. So yeah, England will have to break a lot of records to be able to do that. Shobik Mukherjee seems like a new name. Please make sure you hit the like button. Dean is a world-class spinner. She's destroyed India in second T20I that England played against India in 2023. Very disappointed in your analysis.
Sorry.
Thanks for the feedback, Shobik. Again, we are trying our best, but I'm trying to think हमने बोला क्या? We just said probably not the great best of choices, but sure if you feel so, let's hope yeah. We are RCB fans, both of us. We'd be the first ones to wipe the egg off our face and say good on you, Charlie Dean, for winning us our second title in succession. So we're not complaining about it. So let's hope that happens. And thank you for the feedback, Shobik. We'll definitely try and improve on it. Asim, meanwhile, also going Odyssey. Do you really think we're the same as England since we both lost 3-0 to the Aussies? Our pace bowling is non-existent. We've got only medium or slow medium bowlers and relying on batters making errors. असीम अगर आपको सही में लगा कि मैं इंडिया और इंग्लैंड को सेम लेवल पे रखता हूँ तो आप नए हो इतना तो मुझे समझ आ रहा है कि आप नए बंदे हो I was definitely not alluding to that. That was just a taunt. Of course not. England is much better than India. Goes without saying. But the fact that England is also receiving the same respect that India is, at least by the Aussies, just I guess Schadenfreude is probably the word for it. थोड़ा सा बस वही और कुछ है नहीं, and maybe even coming from a place of jealousy. So don't worry about it. England's definitely much better place than India right now across formats. It'll take us a while, but fair point. Completely agree with you that like India has lots to work on, but the only shining light or no, what's that called? Shining क्या?
Shining light only. Silver lining. Okay.
Sorry, my bad. आजकल को ज्यादा ही मैं ऐसा phonetically जो भी word मिलता है वही बक देता हूँ. But the only silver lining is the fact that our pool has massively developed and grown in the last couple of years. So lots to look forward to in the coming years. Maybe not right now, but hopefully in the near future. Yes, Neha.
Actually, just to counter your one point here, where you mentioned that when India and England go at it with each other, England is better placed. Just look at the 2022 wala series that happened, the Jhulan Goswami farewell wala series, where India actually challenged England, and it was when we could really see England on the mat there, right? So I don't think England is still that sort of a side. I think we get a good indication of that. Yay, we have a series versus England in England where we'll actually get to see England be properly tested. But I think both the teams are almost on par, and I think this is an opportunity for India to kind of go above them as well. And ICC Women's Championship table, we jab dekhoge, I know we played a lot of series against the weaker teams, and that has kind of inflated us. We're kind of like second, right, after Australia as well, which is kind of telling of how India has performed. Again, we've relied on certain players to deliver, but yeah, we'll have to take that into account.
Pratap Singh making my point there. And
Okay.
I was waiting for you to finish your piece. But more than India playing weaker sides, you've also got to admit in the last 2-3 years, India have played a lot more at home. You can also see where that's coming from, simply because World Cup bhi ghar pe hi hone wala hai, so it's important you get more game time in India. So naturally, they focus on home games rather than playing away. But that's also helped their cause. They're playing in conditions that they are familiar with, that they've grown up playing, all their life. And so, वो सब we, मतलब, again, I don't want to just keep using excuses and bringing India down. Of course, Team India has massively improved in the recent past. That goes without saying. But there's still a lot more room for improvement. That's possibly how I would put it. After the last Thailand ODI, Amol Mazumdar's comments were, "Our hunt for a pace bowler is never ending." मतलब अभी गलत जगह तुम हंट करोगे तो हमारी गलती थोड़ी है भाई। अगर तुम समंदर में जाके शेर ढूंढोगे तो नहीं मिलेगा ना। जंगल में मिलते हैं तो जंगल में जाके ढूंढो। तुम पता नहीं किस तरफ, मतलब पता नहीं, दूरबीन दो कोई, someone give him a binocular, a pair of binoculars. Yes, yes, Sneha.
Actually, I was going to quickly ask you that based on the WPL as well, say Kranti Gaud goes on to have a breakthrough season, Jotita goes on to have a great one. Do you see them immediately slot into that Indian, 15, being considered ahead of, say, Arundhati Pooja? If India continues to overlook them, Shikha Pandey is definitely out of the radar there. Would you be tempted to include these raw pace options in the 15?
To quote the great MS Dhoni from the 2020 IPL, definitely not. You cannot possibly think of doing that. That would be the dumbest move in all fairness. Arundhati Pooja have to be the first ones, and if you're not considering them, it can't be two youngsters. It cannot be two youngsters with little to no game time at the highest level. It'll be very stupid. I hope not. Unless they have a fantastic season. Aisa matlab, each team plays great. Let's say, Kranti Gaud goes on to play the final, win the final for a side. Total 10 गेम में अगर ऐसा 25-30 विकेट निकाल लेती है तो ठीक है, तो बनता है बॉस, ऐसा एक्सेप्शनल परफॉर्मेंस के साथ। तो मतलब इनके बाद तो देना ही पड़ेगा। बारे एन आउटलैंडिश परफॉर्मेंस, 100% not. It'll be very stupid. I know I'm still jumping the gun here, and maybe I might be proven wrong. I'd be the first one. Like I love seeing and rooting for newcomers, but even then, it wouldn't be fair on them. That's how I would put it. So, but again, the management, the think tank, because they are the ones actually having conversations with these players and their scouts and everything, so they're much better placed to take these calls. And because I'm not privy to those conversations, so we don't know what exactly goes behind the scenes. So we would still have to look at how it goes. But if I were a selector, I would still want to hold on to that call. Like we World Cup के बाद debut दे दो, फिर देखने क्या होता है. Maybe have them as part of the England squad, the Australia. I mean, the England tour, just as a squad member, even for the Australia series. रखो net bowler हो या फिर squad member ही हो, वो करो. But World Cup में तो please let's not do that. That'll be very unfair. Batting will depend a lot on Smriti's form, especially chases. Matlab, this has been the scene for the last 5 years, bro. To quote Mr. Ranveer Singh from Simba, tell me something I don't know. I'm just quoting random quotes at this point in time. Outlandish performances don't count much for much in the men's game. Sample Karan Nair. So standard performances in WPL may not be the selectors after all. Sure, and you can't blame them also for that. Yes, Neha.
Quick addition here, I think outlandish performances do kind of make a case, right? Take the case of Shriyanka Patil. I mean, she's been doing well in age group cricket, did well in domestics, but I think the WPL just spotlighted her performance so much, it warranted an India place. Even Asha Shobna, for that matter, it really
Saika
felt like a
Ashar.
WPL. Huh? All of these names.
So there is maybe that's why he was clear in the first part. Ki men's game may it might not be the case because men's game are already lot of. But he also goes on to say ki so standout performances in the WPL may not sway. That won't be the case. Like you can't. It's more of an apples to oranges comparison. Men's cricket में it is a fair point because men's cricket में तुम्हारे फर्स्ट 11 के लिए श्रेयस अय्यर, केएल राहुल, ऋषभ पंत, संजू सैमसन, ध्रुव जुरैल इतने सारे नाम हैं. So it becomes difficult. Women's cricket में उतना अभी बना नहीं है, proper talent pool for the first 11. So it's still possible. It's still in the realm of possibility. So you cannot count that out for sure. Let us move on to our last talking point. Let's just take up these comments. Gardner is currently the best or the biggest match winner in women's game. Sure, I mean that's hard to dispute. Ashley Gardner, what a player. We did discuss about her a while back. You can just scroll back and check it out. Smriti Mandana has never performed in any ICC event as far as I can remember. Harmanpreet is a clutch player who says Pava. A thought and a sentiment echoed by a lot of people. Hard to dispute, but fair enough. We understand where you're coming from. Which is more of a one-sided contest, the women's or the men's? England hide these contests more than they perform. Oh, okay. Sportsman decided to really, he chose violence. He woke up and chose violence. Off topic, but VHT is coming home after 4 years, almost there. Yeah, I mean, our producer did confirm a while back that Karun Iyer has finally been dismissed. So, of course, go and call the press. His second dismissal in this tournament. So, he ends it with an average of a very, very, very healthy 389.5. So, congratulations to him. Time for us to now move on to the next and possibly the last talking point. We had a bunch others in mind, but time nahi milta, nahi producers sahab, hum ye nahi. We'll just talk about the Under 19 World Cup. West Indies, Bangladesh, there'll be more time to talk about it next. By the next episode, the series will most likely be done. So we'll not just review it, we'll also talk about what it means for the World Cup, because by next episode, we'll also know which are the 6 teams to directly qualify for the next edition of the ODI World Cup. Speaking of World Cups, there's one that's begun today, the Under-19 Women's T20 World Cup, the second edition of it. We know who the defending champions are. It is Shefali Verma's Team India who won it back there. This time around, we've got a local girl. When I say local, of course, it's a Bangalore-based Niki Prasad leading the side. Neha, let's start with you. Thoughts, given how well they performed in the Under-19 Asia Cup. So they must be really riding the high.
Absolutely. I mean, just looking at the Indian under 19 side, much stronger unit in comparison to the one we had in 2023. I know we're missing the likes of Shifali and Richa, but the kind of talent that we have collectively makes up, for the absence of these massive players. And Niki Prasad, I mean, an absolute, character. She is, having been in the under 19 setup for a while now. Didn't make the cut for that previous World Cup, but now leading the side, she has grown so much. Kind of a mainstay for Karnataka, in all of our domestic competitions as well. So that's another great thing, that she has so much, riding on her with respect to game time and all of that. And even just looking at the unit, like even Jeet Risha was a part of the unit last time around. Probably, she didn't have the best of the World Cups as per the expectations that were set. But I think come this World Cup, with that experience, she is, all set to capture our imagination, hopefully. And considering, we had such a great Asia Cup, winning it in the kind of fashion we did. I know zyada competition nahi tha. Sri Lanka probably came the closest, giving us that sort of a run for the money sort of a situation. But India would still, pride themselves in probably qualifying for the Super Six and eventually for the knockouts as well. So yeah, all in all, India does look like a really strong unit. I want to, rave a lot about the bowling unit. You have Ayushi Shukla, you have Sonam Yadav, Parunika Sisodia. I mean, they form such an interesting spin trio and all of them, right?
My lady, I mean, sorry, my lady sounds wrong. I meant my favorite as well, yeah.
Absolutely, and Joshna as well, right? So all of these names, doing well. India won both of their warm-up games as well, which kind of, I think, is giving us an indication of where the unit is headed. So all excited for their first match. And because these girls have played a lot of age group cricket, you have a good domestic structure for that. back here in India. So the girls have a lot of game time on them. It's just about going and conquering the world. And I wouldn't be surprised if India kind of defends their title. But just looking at the overall competition and the landscape, Australia, I mean, for one, is an amazing team. I think a lot of them have already played WBBL, the Spring Challenge, WNCL, and we already know these names. So I think they would really pose to be a big competition for India. But yeah, let's see how India kind of fares and goes ahead in this tourney.
It'll be interesting to watch. India are, of course, placed with host Malaysia, Sri Lanka, and West Indies in the same group. 4 groups of 16. From there, 8 teams progress to the quarterfinals, then the semi-finals and the final. Pava, meanwhile, going on to ask us, when are you doing the India squad analysis, bro? I'm guessing Pava is referring to the Champions Trophy squad. We will be discussing about it during our next episode of Monday Night Live. It's cool when people know it. Thanks, Pava, for also giving us a subtle shout out. Of course, we will be doing it in the next episode of Monday Night Live. Do tune in. The coming Monday at 8 p.m. we'll be discussing all things Champions Trophy there, including why Mohammad Siraj should have been picked ahead of Mohammad Shami. But coming back to the World Cup, though, interesting you mentioned Australia. Like always, Australia star favorites. Yeah, I saw a couple of their players in this edition of the WPL as well, including today's player of the match winner, Cammy Bray. I hope I'm getting the Kwame.
It's apparently Kiva Bray. It's an Irish name. No, it's an Irish name that has a pronunciation like that. Yeah, it's Kiva.
Okay, then so the commentators themselves got it wrong, because I remember hearing what I'd heard, and I also made it a point to go back today and check the highlights of the games I'd watched. They were pronouncing it as Kimi Bray. No, okay, I've forgotten. So what's it called? Oh, I mean, what's it called? What's her name?
It's Kiva Bray.
Kiva.
No, you will say this. K-E-E-V-A. Kiva.
Kiva.
Huh.
Kiva.
Wow. I can't believe we did this, but okay, yeah.
No, this is how we play down chariots, right? Like, we have to explain. So yeah, okay, interesting name. Again, a solid pace bowler. We saw what she did for the Sydney Sixers in the last edition of the WBBL. That Yorker to Deandra Doughton, that's what really brought her into limelight. That was the first ever wicket in the WBBL, and to get someone like a Deandra Doughton out. Not only that, the fact that she then gets a hug from Elise Perry. I like, this girl living the dream. यार यही तो चाहिए सबको. First game में पहले wicket लो Deandra Doughton का, फिर तुम्हें मिलता है hug Elise Perry से. मतलब भाई साहब.
And Elise Perry is her idol. Apparently a lot of the school projects she did back then. She's just 15, okay? It was all based on Elise Perry, and she also plays for the football team, Matildas. Yeah. So again, an all-rounder in the truest sense.
But genuinely asking, would there be any women's cricketer, any current active women's cricketer, whose role model isn't Elise Perry? Like, I'm genuinely asking, will there be anyone who says, Elise Perry, no, I didn't take any inspiration from her. But
Australia ka dekho na, you can also have role models like Beth Mooney, Meg Lanning, Alisa Healy. Yeah.
But do you think there'll be anyone? Do you think there'll be? I don't think. मैं खुद Elise Perry को अपना inspiration मानता हूँ. Like, the way she carries herself off the field, not just the player that she is, but the human that she is, and the way she conducts herself. We've heard from it. We've heard about it from Sri Lanka Patil as well. Like, it just goes on to show. I mean, there's a reason why she's really a bona fide legend. Not in the making. She's already a bona fide legend, despite she having a good 3-4 years of international cricket left in her. Hopefully, even more. Deeksha, meanwhile, asking us, what do you all think about those comments on the under-19 cricketers' Facebook accounts becoming a problem for all of women's cricket? Some merit in taking any action, though, at least at the under-19 level. Pardon my ignorance. I don't think I have full context to this. Neha, any idea? I mean, I get a vague understanding of what she's referring to, but is there any specific incident that happened in the recent past?
So yeah, actually, I mean, in the lead up to this under-19 World Cup, we did see ICC, come out with a lot of photo shoots and like media day for all of these teams and all of that. In particular, the Scotland and Ireland key players were subjected to a lot of like inappropriate comments by men in the comment section. ICC, for one, was has been a pioneer in trying to lessen the hate, abuse, and all of these inappropriate things by doing something during the T20 World Cup, right, where they were trying to safeguard the players and everything. So it was very surprising as to why did they keep the comments on for that. And ICC did something very interesting. They didn't tag all of these players and all. So you've seen, right, the tendency of fans to go after some players in DMs and all of that. So that was one good thing. But with respect to the kind of comments you got to read under these posts, it just did not make for good sight. And I just wish they could have turned off comments across all of their social media handles to protect these players, because most of them are not even 18 or even 19 for that matter. They're all like what, 15, 16-year-olds. So that's a little unfortunate to see, especially Scotland and Ireland players got targeted like that, which was very, very unfortunate.
Well, I must say, you're being very polite. I can imagine how it must have been, like how bad the situation must have been. But for that, like you mentioned, the sort of initiative that ICC took up during the T20 World Cup, where they came up with this portal of sorts that filters out comments coming up on the post. They could have gone ahead with it here as well, because I remember, was it Malaba? No, it was Sinalo Jafta who spoke about it. She also had gone through her own issues, struggles in her personal life, and there were a lot of hate comments coming on her post, related to that. So for context, she had problems with alcohol. She went through alcohol abuse, had to really let go of it, and then she made her way back into the South African setup. When such things are happening, when cricketers are being targeted, especially we know for a fact, I mean, it would be very stupid and foolish and ignorant of us if we don't call it out. So it's important ICC calls it out, and what the initiative that they had, even if it does not do the job 100%, जो भी हो अगर कर पाते हो, first of all you will मतलब it also instills faith in ICC as an organization, given that a lot of these cricketers will be playing their events for the time to come. They're all youngsters. And secondly, it just makes it a lot more easier and a comfortable space for players to play. And also, in my head, it's a no-brainer, but no, let us know what do you make of it. And thank you, Deeksha, for bringing it up. Actually makes me think that this is also something we can talk about. Like, this could be a topic where we can dive deep and talk a lot more about. So thank you so much for shedding some light there, Deeksha. Will the Indian under-19 women have an advantage in the under-19 World Cup, given that we've just played at the same venues in the recently concluded Asia Cup? That's a very interesting question that you've asked. And since you've asked, before I go to Neha, we recently had a chance to talk to the current Indian skipper, Niki Prasad, and we actually have a few tidbits, so we'll be playing that out. You can hear from the horse's mouth, from the captain herself, what she thinks about her experience playing in Malaysia last month, and does she think it'll help her this time around? So let's have a look at that. There we go.
Definitely, it wasn't a good tournament with the bat for me, but India's won, and India's won Asia Cup, and that was the goal of India winning Asia Cup. But obviously, I've come back and I've looked what I can do right. And now, when I go back to World Cup, we're in the same condition, we'll be playing the same ground, we'll be playing the same pitches. So I know what I can do now, and I'm just going to make sure that I am also there, scoring runs for the Indian team, and it's different now. It's going to be different now.
That was a fun chat, by the way. I mean, video-wise, ज़्यादा कुछ हमने अब तक डाला नहीं है, but you can check out the written piece that a colleague of ours, Akash Subramaniam, actually came up with. He took the interview of Niki Prasad about a month ago. We put it up 3-4 days ago. Producer Saab, if you don't mind, please take the link from our website and put it up in the comment section as well for our viewers perusal. Wow, that was very cooperative of me. But it was a fun chat, a very fun interview. Do check it out. We'll be putting up the clips as well going forward. So yeah, it's definitely going to help them in some sense, given that they've played just a month ago, Neha. So wo thoda rahega hi. But even then, that there's only so much that familiarity helps you with, right? Because all these sides have also come in 2 weeks in advance, had their camps, they played warm-up matches. So net, you would imagine it's still a level playing field that way.
Yeah, it's definitely a level playing field in that respect. I mean, just having that sort of a venue advantage won't help that much. Maybe it just gives you that little bit sense of confidence, boss, we know these conditions well, so that kind of helps the cause. But even just looking at India's group, I think it'll be pretty much smooth sailing. They shouldn't really face a lot of challenges on that front. But we've seen funnier things happen in cricket, so, let's not get too ahead of ourselves. And I think the team at large looks like a very confident unit, So they would, kind of look to replicate what Shefali Verma and her team did back in 2023. And they have the skill set and that sort of a mindset to do that. So, yeah, fingers crossed they are able to go that extra distance.
Fingers crossed for sure. Meanwhile, sports fan asking us, is there any other Shefali type case in this under 19 World Cup too? She just demolished sides last time. Also, would you like to discuss what last time squad members are doing? By the way, आपने शिफाली का नाम लिया, but you also need to remember ऋचा घोष भी थी, दोनों थे वो World Cup में. But sure, let's go with Shefali for now. Last time I know Shweta Sehrawat was there. There was partially Chopra. I'm trying to think of the other players. Any other players come to mind?
Yeah, so there was Sonam Mendhia. She currently plays for Haryana with Shefali Verma itself. Then there was Soumya Tiwari as well. Then there's
Soumya
Rishita
Tiwari as a
Basu.
Tiwari?
Yeah.
Okay.
We saw her, in the celebrations with the empty huddle and all of that. Then we also have Rishita Basu, who currently plays for Bengal, plays even age group cricket, matlab under 23, and plays for the senior side as well. Then there is S. Yashashri. Well, she was not retained by UP Warriors, so is finding her feet in domestic cricket itself. Jeet Risha is again a part of this under 19 team, hai na? Parshi Chopra.
Yeah. Just went through a few more names. Titash was also a part of it. There was Shabnam Shakil. There was Manat Kashyap. So interesting names. Quite a few of them have actually made the jump to, the higher echelons of international cricket. They've gone on to represent Team India, channelizing my inner Ian Bishop. Let's hope I get there as well. But not only have they played for Team India, a lot of these have WPL contracts. So again, this goes on to show, like, we will be seeing and hearing a lot more of these names, even from this setup already, even before they've played the Under 19 World Cup. Kamalini's got a gig. Parunika Sisodia has been a part of this, part of the Giants earlier. There's the captain Niki Prasad himself, who's been picked by Delhi Capitals. There's Joshita, who's been picked by कौन है भाई अरे मेरी साइड RCB so RCB Delhi Gujarat Mumbai so there's a lot of representation in this very setup so there 100% you will be hearing a lot of these names going forward for sure so yeah those were some things from from the last edition of the Under 19 World Cup, not the last year for sure. In terms of talking points, a last bit before we completely wrap it up, let's also review the Senior Women's ODI Challenger Trophy that ended last week. When we ended it last time around, after the last podcast, there was there was one league stage game, then there was the eliminator that happened, and then there was, of course, the final that happened.
No, just the last league match and the finals itself, Akshay. There's no eliminator in between. It was top two teams squared off against each other. Looking at the Senior Women's One-Day Trophy itself, Team A was just decked with a lot of stars. Shefali Verma doing Shefali Verma things, scoring runs at will. And unfortunately, they lost in the final to Team C, who had a very interesting, league stages. They won 2 matches, lost 2. But the way they, kind of crawled out of that and just went on to win the title was remarkable. I think biggest positive had to be Vrinda Dinesh. Scored again a crucial knock in the final, which helped, tilt the scales in the favor of her side. Wouldn't say it was the most exciting final, but nice to see Team C, kind of go on to win. I hope the next time we have this conversation, Team C is not Team C and they have another name. थोड़ा अजीब लगता है ना say Team A, Team B, C, D, E and all. I think Team E had a थोड़ा disappointing tournament. They
ended it with a win. So
one solitary win, but still, as a unit, they just didn't seem to click as much. But yeah, I think it was a dominant showing for Shefali. Kind of, there's only so much we can talk about her, but then she was just brilliant. Again topping the run charts. Just reminding the selectors that she is very much a part of the plans. But Team C's win was very, very special.
And we also need to understand that, like, it was very clear that the way the sides were constructed, the squads were constructed also, Team A was the strongest. It was almost in order of strength. Team A, B, C, D, E. He was very evidently I mean, when I say weakest, the least experienced of the lot. There weren't too many experienced players. Subhash Satish herself leading a side for the first time ever here. So मतलब just went on to show कि मतलब ज़्यादा उस हिसाब से गया था. So you could see why Team E was always going to find it hard. The fact that they were even able to eke out to win was fantastic, to be honest, because it was filled with youngsters. Team A, on the other hand, had too many overseas experienced players. You had Shafali Verma, you had Arundhati Reddy a part of the same setup. So it was going to be difficult to beat a side like that. But all in all, again, since nothing was streamed and we can only look at scorecards and draw our inferences or insights, call it what you may. So it's going to be difficult, but Shafali, good to see that. Arundhati Reddy, once again, bowling zyada mila nahi. She took a 3 for 4 for even, but in general, she was under bowled, consistently. Even in the final, she bowled just the 4 overs. That was a tad bit surprising. The final, the Team C, who took a 4 for? That was the name I wanted to talk about. Let me think. I'll just probably get it out. Anything else from the Challenger Trophy that you wanted to bring up?
Yeah, actually, that's a great point you brought in. Ki Arundhati Reddy was underbowled, considering she's not at all a part of India's scheme of things for that Ireland tour. I thought, idhar at least, they will continue to give her the longer rope. But I think a lot kind of boiled down to the conditions as well. We had a lot of spinners, operating and doing the bulk of probably taking wickets and everything. So yeah, that. Oh yeah, you found out who took the 4 for?
हाँ जी, हमारी आरसीबी की नई रिस्ट स्पिनर प्रेमा रावत. मेरे को याद ही आ गया क्योंकि ये बीसीसीआई वेबसाइट पे स्कोर कार्ड खोलते खोलते याद आ जाता है, लेकिन ये साइट ठीक से लोड नहीं होता.
And BCCI's website as well, most of the time they don't take the player ka full name also. It just stops at Prema, at KP Chowdhury and all of this. Yeah, Prema.
You know how I found out it was Prema Rawat?
How did you find
I didn't know. I didn't, because Prema, एक तो player profile कुछ नहीं है. Prema लिखा है. I don't know, there might be another Prema that exists.
No, it's Prema Rawat itself, yeah.
I went to Instagram. Thankfully, she put up a post where she was in Chennai 3 days ago, because this was happening in Chennai. I was like, हाँ ठीक है. ये Chennai same time में ठहरने तो नहीं जाएगी. It's too much of a coincidence. So that's how एकदम ऐसा Sherlock Holmes बन के we had to deduce it. That's basically
yes, Prema Rawat.
Yep. Sanjeet Sarkar, since you've asked it, okay, we still have probably, I know we've just crossed it to our mark, but Sanjeet had asked us, Tanveer had also asked us earlier. We'll probably just touch upon it a bit, Neha. I thought I'll save it for next week, but the West Indies Bangladesh series begins tomorrow. 3-match ODI series that's going to go on, 19th, 22nd, and 25th, if I'm not wrong. Very crucial for Bangladesh because they're still in it with a chance to qualify. Directly for the main edition of the ODI World Cup, which is happening later this year in India. Thoughts on it? Any players to look out for?
Actually, in all fairness, Akshay, the kind of marketing that has been done, marketing promotions for the series has been literally nil nada. I mean, I was just trying to look up the squads and I couldn't find anything for Bangladesh. I was checking one of the more reliable cricket portals for this. But just looking at West Indies, I mean, not a lot of change in their side from the last time they did play, which was versus India. Again, you have Hayley Matthews leading the side. You have Deandra Dalton who's there. West Indies obviously will be playing for pride and to kind of ruin Bangladesh's plan of directly qualifying for that World Cup, because West Indies will be playing that qualifier anyway. But then, considering it's a home series, I assume that home advantage will do them some world of good. Bangladesh again does not play as often as we would like them to play. I hope BCB can do something about that. Keep a lot more bilateral series and everything. And somehow I still feel Bangladesh is reeling off the fact that they didn't get to host the T20 World Cup at home. So it's going to be such a massive opportunity for them. So the series is imperative for them to directly qualify to the World Cup. If any of our viewers can just give us some information about the squads, if any that have been announced for Bangladesh, please do share so we can probably preview that. I don't think we see any shocking exclusions or something. I recently remember reading Jahanara Alam, talking about why she pulled herself out of contention for Bangladesh so she could play a lot more domestic cricket and get herself ready. But looking at the talent pool in Bangladesh as well, just looking at that under-19 side, there's just so many interesting names who have been making the waves. They won't be a part of this series, but it goes to show, right? They have like a great core that will eventually come into play for the senior side as well. Oh yeah, Bangladesh also recently played against Ireland, and there were a lot of positives for them to take from that series. Although the T20 series probably they want to forget and just repress it, but the ODI series still had something to offer for them on the positive front. So yeah, let's see how the West Indies Bangladesh series goes on, and if us in the Indian subcontinent can catch some of it on probably YouTube, because I don't know where else it would stream, like fan code maybe.
Code भी हो
So,
सकता है,
yeah. So yeah, we're keeping our fingers crossed that we get to see some part of it. But all in all, an exciting series considering what is at stake. And Bangladesh literally has their destiny in their own hands. So let's see if they can pull off an absolute miracle. Won't call it an upset, and actually supersede New Zealand to qualify for the World Cup.
Yeah, I mean, Sanjeev also going on to mention a few names himself. Sharmeen Akhtar is definitely my player to watch out for. Had a fantastic ODI series against Ireland. There 3 solid knocks, 350s if I'm not wrong. No 100. There was a 96, 95, 96 there. But she looked in great nick over there. बहुत मजा आया उनको देख के. Importantly, she was striking very well. It was that strike rate that impressed me more than the runs itself, because runs बनाने वाले दूसरे लोग हैं जो मतलब 100 बॉल में 40-50 मार सकते हैं, but the strike rate always was on the lower end of the spectrum. That's why Sharmeen Akhtar Shukta has been a breath of fresh air. So hopefully she will be able to go on to do some good things for them. Megar Sultana goes without saying. Always looking forward to some of the slower bowlers, the spinners, pacers, जो भी बोलना है, along with the likes of Marufa Akhtar. Sorry, मैं उन्हीं का नाम बोल रहा था. Marufa Akhtar क्यों नहीं आ रहा था? Rabia Khan, there's Sobna Mosteri with the bat, then Rabia Khan bowling के साथ, and why am I forgetting? Ritu Mondal, yes. So
Ritu Moni, huh?
Moni, sorry, Ritu Moni, sorry. Mondal is Bengali. My bad. But I'm forgetting the medium pacer यार जो शारजा में wickets लिए जा रही थी. I'm trying to think. I know Rabia Khan was the front of the hand spinner, so ठीक है, जब याद आएगा तो बात करेंगे उसके बारे में. Because the squad is also not out, and I haven't myself seen a lot of Bangladesh games barring the Ireland series. These are the few names: Sharmeen Akhtar for sure, and Marufa Akhtar I won't say player to watch out for. She's already done enough. कि बस ये तो expected है कि अच्छा करेंगी. So hopefully they are able to do well, because the West Indies side itself is not the strongest, but the addition of someone like a Deandra Doughton will go a long way in helping them. There's already Hayley Matthews in the setup. Someone like a Shimeen Campbell will also now want to continue, because Stephanie Taylor moving on means there will be more owners on the other batters. You can't solely depend on Hayley Matthews, especially at the top. Bowling maybe मेरे को देखना है Chanel Henry. How does she go about her business? The likes of Ashley Fletcher will be very crucial, because make no mistake, the World Cup's happening in India. So ज़्यादा spinners, ज़्यादा spin को खेलना पड़ेगा batters को, and ज़्यादा spinners खेलेंगे. So naturally you would want to have similar surfaces, so you get adequate quality match practice. There's no point playing SE. You would want to play on surfaces that assist spin, that are slightly more on the slower side. तो वो देखना पड़ेगा क्या होता है वहाँ पे. We'll wrap it up with this one last question. Asim goes on to ask us, yes, would you consider Bangladesh beating West Indies in upset? In 2024 ODIs, West Indies have won 3 out of their 9 ODIs, and Bangladesh have won 3. Would you call it an upset, Neha?
I mean, I wouldn't call it an upset, because Bangladesh has been doing well. They've been rising through the ranks with whatever little opportunities they have gotten, right? So, yeah, I mean, I'm still looking forward to an exciting series, because West Indies too have probably not had the greatest of the runs in ODIs, but then yaar ye unke home conditions mein ho raha hai. We've seen them, kind of put up those decent performances at home. So yeah, if Bangladesh can actually go on to win, it would make for an amazing underdog story, and them qualifying for the World Cup in style and all of that would make for great reading. But yeah, great start there that they won 3 out of 9 and Bangladesh 3 out of 6. Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see. I, for one, wouldn't really consider it an upset. Both sides are on par in terms of the kind of resources they have, and because T20s में तो फिर भी high variance game है तो कोई भी जीत सकता है, and all of that happens. ODI is a much longer format, so your skills actually come into play, and solely based on skills, I feel both sides are on par. It's very hard to say one side is better than the other, But maybe the one thing going for West Indies is the fact that, the likes of Haley Matthews, Deandra Dotton, so they've got a couple more superstars, players who can win matches on their own, as opposed to Bangladesh. So that probably tilts the scale a bit in their favor. ये numbers are 3 out of 9, 3 out of 6. All the 3 games that Bangladesh won were against Ireland. So, मतलब West Indies फिर भी श्रीलंका, पाकिस्तान, साउथ अफ्रीका इन सबसे खेला है. So you can't just वही numbers पे ही हम नहीं जा सकते. But fair question, interesting stat, and not a bad time for us to get done and wrap up today's episode of the Men's Cricket Podcast, episode number 7. Hopefully, episode 7 of a lot more to come in the future. We had loads to discuss, and we discussed all of them at least to the best of our abilities. We will be back next Saturday once again discussing about all things women's cricket. Until then, it's a goodbye from both of us. Please, like always, hit the like button. Might be बोल रहा है बता. Please hit the like button. Please smash the subscribe button if you haven't already. Until then, a goodbye. Have a great Saturday, and importantly, have a great weekend. Bye-bye.